Good afternoon to a very rainy day here in the Sabi Sand of South Africa, and welcome to all of you joining us for the Nat Geo Kids Show. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is David. Now, if you would like to ask us any questions, you have to ask your parents to help you. And what you can do is you can get them to send us an email to natgeokids@wildearth.tv. And then that way, they'll be able to ask us questions. How exciting. So in the very, very far distance, we're hoping to get a little bit closer, are some elephants. And they've been very naughty elephants for the entire afternoon because they've been trumpeting and making lots and lots of noise. So I don't know what scared them, or if there's maybe a elephant bull, so a boy elephant that's causing some trouble with this family of elephants. But they've been telling us from very far away that they're not happy at all today. But our plan is to go a little bit closer, and there is actually a road. You can just see the road there, that white line just below or in between the green trees and the dark brown tall trees, the Maruda trees at the back. So we're going to aim to get to that road, and then hopefully once we're there we'll be able to see the elephants a little bit better. Let's carry on. Let's go around, but we have to go the scenic way around because I can't go over the dam wall just yet. There's still some guests in the lodge, so we'll take the scenic way around. Who knows what else we could find in between. Right, off you go, off to James. We have to call him Uncle James on this safari, and he's looking for a leopard.
Don't you dare call me Uncle James. Good afternoon. Hello, kids. Lovely to have you with us on this, well, blustery and rainy Saturday afternoon. It's not Sunday just yet. That's tomorrow. Please talk to us using the email address natgeokids@wildearth.tv. You can ask your parents to send through any questions you might have, and you've just seen my name is James, not Uncle James, thankfully. Senzo Mkize is on camera. He is having a small snack at the moment and filming. That is how brilliant he is. We are going to do our best to find you a cat, I hope, today. There was a leopard just around here this morning, and we'll see if we can't find him in the car. Somebody found him on foot. A very brave person came out here on foot. That was Brent, and Brent found him on foot earlier today, somewhere around this area. Not sure exactly where, and it might be a little bit too difficult to get in there in the vehicle, but we will try. Oh, Senzo actually knows where he is. You know where he is, do you? Do you think we'll see him in the car? Senzo says he has good hopes that we'll see him in the vehicle. So let's pop our heads down here. You can see some vehicle tracks from this morning down here. Now, this young leopard killed a nyala, which is an antelope. We'll try our best not to show you anything gory, but it would be nice to see the cat. And you see him. Senzo, who has got better eyes than anybody in the whole world, has just spotted the leopard. So we'll just have a very wide shot of him there. He's sitting in the tree. Look at that. That is one of our very favorite male leopards. We won't show you too close up, of course, because, well, it's a bit disgusting seeing all that meat. So we'll just watch it there. And what he's doing is eating a nyala, which is an antelope that he killed here at some stage, probably in the last 2 days or so. Isn't that special? Now, this special cat's name is Hosana, as many of you know, I suspect. And this magnificent cat is just over 2 years old. In fact, he's about 2.5 now. In fact, he's going to be 3 in February. So I'm going to sit here with this cat. But one of the greatest spectacles on planet Earth is the one that Stivovo is now going to show you all the way up in East Africa.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to the Mara Triangle up in Kenya. And the plains abound with zebra and wildebeest, and in the background we have got an enormous storm. Good afternoon, my name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined on camera by Archie, and we are trying to avoid the rain. Unfortunately, it has been quite difficult so far, but we are doing our best. We're going to see, though, if we can find for you some lions. Wouldn't that be nice? But if we just go back onto the plains here, there are thousands and thousands of animals, but look at the storm. There is an enormous storm enormous storm that has come in from the north and moving across the mountain range in the distance there. And I don't know if you can hear the lightning and thunder. It's quite dangerous actually to go towards the storm because we're in a vehicle that's got a very long metal pole on the back. And so if we did go in there and lightning struck the metal pole, well, we would probably kill all of our equipment. Blue, incredible cloud, isn't it? Yes, what a cloud indeed. And these two storms are actually moving towards each other. And we've kind of picked a path to go between the middle, but we're not sure if we're going to go through there now. But for the meantime, we are in the Masai Mara Triangle, where there are thousands of wildebeest in the major spectacle, as James said, of the migration, where the wildebeest come in numbers of about, they reckon, 1.3 million, and the zebra about 600,000 make the journey south from the south in Tanzania, and they come all the way up here to feed on the very delicious green grass that we have. You can see lots of them all the way to the horizon with their heads down. They are enjoying the fact that it's raining, because what the rain does is the rain makes the grass go even greener. So they're getting nice and bulky, lots of energy, eating all of the green grass. And then after they've eaten it all, then they generally move all the way back down to the Serengeti in Tanzania, where they will have their babies in a number of months. But this is an incredible spectacle that we are able to show you. But in the meantime, my very good friend James Henry back down in South Africa would like to show you a spotted hyena.
Now that is a spotted hyena, and one of the greatest hunters, of course, of all those wildebeest there in the Masai Mara. And the spotted hyena, not this particular one, of course, he's never been up to East Africa because it is about 2,500 miles away from where we are now. And hyenas can't run that far. They can run far, but not quite that far. This particular one is waiting for Hosanna to drop a piece of meat out of the tree that he is sitting in, and he's very, very patient. He's probably been here all day long, waiting to see if a small scrap won't fall down, a little bit like, I suppose, a dog that might wait at your kitchen table, waiting to see if you don't drop something down. And I suspect that hyena will be there all night long. You can see not a thin hyena, so obviously the strategy of waiting for scraps clearly works for this hyena. And interestingly, we know who this hyena is. This hyena's name is Corky. And Corky is part of the Juma clan of hyenas. And we think she's just had, in fact, we know she's just had some babies. And I don't think they've been seen for too long, or for a little while now. And maybe she'll lead us back to her den. And interestingly, hyenas like this, who've got little babies, will very seldom take food back to the den. They will normally eat in situ, as it were, and then go back to the den. But Corky is quite senior, we think, in the hierarchy of the Juma clan of hyenas. And so, because she's quite senior, she might take some food back to her den site and allow her babies to eat actual meat. They'll start eating meat very soon. Interestingly, hyenas are born with teeth, which is very unusual for mammals. Most mammals are born without teeth, like you were. Ooh, Cal, you say we saw the cub this morning. That's wonderful news. So Corky's cub is fine. I'm not sure if she had two to start with. I think it was probably just the one. She may have had two, though. Often they don't both survive. But you can see old Corky here is definitely very well fed. And she can never eat enough, of course, because she's feeding a youngster. Isn't she lovely? I'm going to stay here, see what Corky does. Maybe she'll go looking for her cub. Maybe she'll just wait here for some meat.
Hello again, everybody. I was trying to find my friend for you, but I'll show you my friend a little bit later. He fell out of my hood. See, I've been, like I said to you, we're trying to get to those elephants again. But there's been so many elephants around. Lots of them. So I'm trying to see if we can't find another herd that's maybe closer. And we also want to try and hide away from the rain because it's not very nice. So if we can find some animals that we can sit and watch, that would be the best. But we'll try our best too. There's just tracks everywhere. But with all the rain that has now fallen on the footprints, I'm not really even going to be able to show you a footprint nicely. But they've got big feet, as you can imagine. Very, very, very big feet. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we'll even see some cool eagles and things, because they won't be flying around in this weather. They'll all be sitting on branches. So I'll keep my eyes out on all these branches. Maybe some trees with a little bit of leaves on them. That'll keep them nice and sheltered. Or what else could we see? I saw lots of giraffe on this morning's safari, so we might see the giraffe again. And and buffalo. David and I were with a big herd of buffalo. We're surrounded by them. So if we don't find anything here, we'll go all the way to the south. So that's down that side that you can't see. And then we'll see if they came back. They went and they drank at a watering hole, and then they came back again. So I think we should have a good chance at finding them. But I do want to show you my most favorite animal in the whole wide world and spend a bit of time with them, which is the elephant. But it's not looking so promising right now, unfortunately. But we'll keep on keeping on. Okay, what else are we going to look at? I can't even tell you about too many of the plants because half of them don't have leaves on them anymore. Well, they're starting to get leaves now. We'll see. Oh, I just got a free drop of water in my mouth. No need to have to hydrate out my bottle today. I can just do that. Okay. What? Look at that. I'll show you something quickly. Actually, we can look what's on the middle of the road. So there's some branches that are just in the middle of the road, and they've got lots of thorns on them. But can you see that bright yellow part? So I know that the elephants have been here. So at this time of the year, so we're in spring at the moment, but we haven't really had any rain. This is the first day it's really well, it's not even raining, it's just drizzling at the moment. So there's no grass for them to eat, or nothing that's green. So they've been eating the bark. And more importantly, they've been eating the cambium layer. Now, that's a big word. It's not too important for most of you just yet. But it's basically the layer where all the nutrients come from the roots and they travel through the bark and then up to the leaves so that the leaves can grow nicely. But the elephants love to eat that layer. Some moisture in there and lots and lots of nutrients. So that's what's happened. So that's a good clue to try and find the elephants. So we shouldn't be too far away. But I'm going to send you all the way to Kenya now, to the Mara with Steve. And it seems like he's got some really, really, really small antelope called Topi.
Well, you are back up in the Mara, and well, I think we are behind the rain now, which is awesome. Have a look at that little youngster. That's a baby Topi, and it is very wet because the rains have passed through here already. And look at it, it's very fast. Yeah, it's going to go to Mum. Where's Mum? Mum looks very similar to the wildebeest, but the color is a lot sort of more reddish brown in color. You'll see there's another baby, and there's Mum, or one of the mums anyway. And the Topi are also one of the common animals you find around, but with all of the wildebeest around, they really do disappear into the landscape. And the Topi are hoping that the predators don't find their babies, because, well, the babies need to hide in the long grass so as to avoid the predators finding them. And they can run very quickly. Look at that. Only about a week old, and look how quick it can run. Two of them. And they do blend into the ground and the grass quite nicely this time of year. But look, as Archie pans across here, just have a look at how many wildebeest there are in the plains. It's just going to keep going. Marla, you say cute. It is too precious, in fact. All the way to the back of the screen there is where Tanzania is. The Serengeti. And look, just watch for a moment. All the way to the back is just wildebeest everywhere. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And they like short grass. All around here, the grass is being chopped nice and short by the zebra, and then the wildebeest are able to feed on it. They like to eat grass, and you see how long their neck is to help them reach quite down, quite nice and low. All across the back of the mountain. There's one zebra hiding in amongst them. There are lots of zebra here as well, but they don't seem to be in the same sort of numbers as the wildebeest, although there are still so many. Look, the whole mountain is full of wildebeest, and people come all the way across the world to see these animals in their enormous numbers. And everywhere we look at the moment is just wildebeest. So in and amongst them, all over the place, there are some lions and hyena, as well as leopards hiding in the valleys, and cheetah as well from time to time. Chiwana, you want to know if topies have 1 or 2 babies at a time? And as far as I'm aware, only 1, but twins they do happen from time to time with certain herbivore animals, but that I think was just a youngster following another youngster. But it's not uncommon to have twins, but it's just a little harder for mum to look after 2 youngsters at the same time. But it does happen in nature, but it's not as common as 1 on their own. But anyway, we're going to continue on down here as Archie just looks into the distance there. That is an area we're going to head to now called the Salt Lick area. And look at all those wildebeest there. There's a lot of salt on the ground, and the wildebeest all like coming down there for the vegetation and the ground. But anyway, James has got some wonderful action with Hosanna and that cheeky hyena.
Look at this cheeky hyena, Corky. She's not being so cheeky at the moment. She's just sitting there resting. She's sat down now, decided that she's going to have to be more patient even than she thought she'd had to. And she's probably thinking to herself, well, I might have to go back to my den to feed my baby at some stage. Because, of course, hyena cubs nurse much longer than many of the other predators, sometimes for more than a year. In fact, normally for more than a year. But that doesn't mean they don't start eating meat quite soon after they're born. And so she'll be thinking about the little one. And I think the little one is probably now about 2 or 3 weeks old, I'd say. See how her ears are moving constantly, listening out for perhaps other hyenas coming, or for the sound of something dropping out of the tree. Her nose is constantly working as well. And although you and I would sit in a position like this and be unable to smell anything other than a little bit of the rain, and perhaps, obviously, bits and pieces of the vehicle that I'm sitting in, because vehicles smell quite strong. Otherwise, there's not much to smell here, but we don't have noses anything like as sensitive as a hyena's. And a hyena's nose is about 40 to 50 times more powerful than ours. And so you can imagine, if you were walking through something like a shopping centre, for example, a mall, and you had the nose of a hyena, and you weren't used to smelling like a hyena, you would be probably feeling pretty sick after about 5 minutes, because all of the funny smells of people's feet and their underarms, the kinds of things that you don't smell normally, would be very strong. And out here, it's not so helpful in a mall, but out here, of course, very helpful for a hyena that is trying to smell rotting meat on the wind. So if there's a carcass a long way away, probably more than 2 kilometers away, this hyena would be able to smell that meat and then go straight there. Hyenas are very good at that. Even leopards are very good at that. And so, although they can kill for themselves, they are very, very good at smelling and scavenging. Our Laura Moore, when hyenas are happy, they show it by singing the song, "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands." If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Except they don't clap their hands, they snap their jaws. So the hyena version of the song goes, if you're happy and you know it, snap your jaws. If you're happy and you know it, snap your jaws. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, snap your jaws. That's how a hyena shows it's happy. That's not a serious answer, obviously, everybody. Hyenas show they are happy. Well, I don't know how they show they're happy, but I guess they'd indicate contentedness, which means they'd indicate a sense of satisfaction, that they weren't unhappy, that they were not threatened, that they were full of food, by going to sleep, I suppose, and also by relaxing, putting their tails down. When they're unhappy, they lift their tails up, or when they're stressed, they lift their tails up, and I suppose they'd just put their heads between their paws and go to sleep. But otherwise, it's very difficult to tell, of course, because mostly with a human being, you would know if they were happy from looking at their faces. And we have very expressive faces, lots and lots of muscles in our faces. Ooh, what's going... Oh, there we go. Dropped a little piece of meat, and down the throat it goes. Very clever hyena, that, isn't she? Well done, Corky. Oh, I wonder if she's not going off to the den. Maybe she's taking that little piece off to give to her baby. We'll have to find out. We might actually decide to follow her in a little while. That'll be quite fun to see. She went running off quite fast. Now, I'm actually not too sure where that new den is, so I'm going to find out. And then perhaps we'll head along there and see if we can't show you a baby hyena. That would be very special, wouldn't it? In the meantime, the very special cat is eating in his tree. Connie, it really does depend on the animal. Sadly, yes, quite often that is the case, that if an animal parent dies out here, the baby will be doomed. In the case of a leopard, almost certainly. In the case of a hyena, almost certainly. In the case of an elephant, however, what is very interesting is that they will be adopted. So if an elephant mother dies, someone else in the herd will adopt that baby, and they'll look after them, and that's one of the reasons that everybody loves elephants so much. In the case of a wild dog puppy, well, as long as when there was another wild dog producing milk, they would look after the youngsters. But of course, in a wild dog pack or a wolf pack, it's normally only one female that breeds. So if the mother dies and there is no milk left, well, then the babies will be doomed, and if no one else is able to produce milk. In terms, I'm trying to think of other examples. You might find in a baboon troop that from time to time a foreign mother might help suckle a youngster, but it would be very, very unusual. And I'm trying to think of other examples out here. Normally, I'm afraid it does mean in the mammals that the baby would die. Obviously, with human beings, we're also mammals, and well, the reason that we find it difficult to accept that a youngster would die out here if its mother died is that that's not how we act. We would adopt a baby if its mother died or was unable to feed it, and in fact it's why we find animals like elephants and their attitude to looking after youngsters so appealing. We like that because it's like us. It shows the same values that we have. I'm not sure that values is the correct word, but I suppose it probably might be. The hyena's just behind us. I'm not going to move the car at the moment. She's smelling. Right, while we wait and see what she does, let's head across to a blustery place where there could be hippos.
There are hippos, good guess. Now we are sitting at Chitwa Dam, and it's the biggest dam in the whole of the Sabi Sands, so this area, and there aren't many dams that actually have water in them at the moment. And this little sprinkle of rain is really not going to do too much. But look at all those hippos, they're huddled up. I wonder if they're cold, or just as cold as we are. They're definitely wetter than we are because they spend most of their day in the water. There's little ones, there's big ones, there's medium-sized hippo. They're all there. Now they're just relaxing for the moment. I think they're trying to keep out of the wind. Not very many animals other than the predators, the lions, the leopards, the hyenas, they really like the wind. And that lapwing won't mind the wind too much. What's she doing? Looks like it's going to sit down. You're going to get comfy. Maybe it has a nest there. So that's called a blacksmith lapwing, and they lay their eggs down on the ground. Now, Janine, you've asked if we've seen any woodland kingfishers. No, not yet. We did hear some cuckoos today. I think it was it Pit Mayflower? Was it red? Not red-chested? It must have been the class's cuckoo that we heard calling. I just had to remember what bird said what, which was quite cool. It was either someone whistling a very good tune of a class's cuckoo, or someone was playing the sound on their phone, or I could have imagined it. I mean, it could have gone three ways there. But anyways, no woodland kingfishers just yet. But now other kingfishers that we might see over here are pied kingfishers. What's that antelope doing on the island? Now you can see we've got our roofs on to try and keep us nice and dry, but they're not working too well. Oh my goodness, look at that bushback. Is that Gogo 2.0? That looks like a very, very old bushbuck. It is a very, very old bushbuck. Now, when I say the word... Kirsty, who's directing, says that this bushbuck has been stuck on this island for a very long time. Now's your chance to escape. The water's low. Anyway, she looks very, very old. The reason why I say that is because her face is so grey and she's got those bleach patches on top of her head, or maybe she's just had her hair done. Highlights are in this season, so you never really know which way, and I can't speak to the bushbuck because I don't speak their language. But she's also doesn't have very good table manners. Look how she's chewing. It's like she's got a piece of bubble gum in her mouth. But I think she's really happy because not many animals can go and eat on that island, except David and I had the buffalo there. They crossed the little bit of water. Now, the buffalo don't normally eat leaves like that bushbuck does, but because there's not really any grass around, they didn't have much of a choice. So they just gobbled them down anyways. And sometimes, oh, there's an Egyptian goose. It's a one-legged Egyptian goose. Well, there's one-legged Egyptian goose and then one two-legged Egyptian goose. I think it's just resting its foot at the moment. And look how cold they are. That one doesn't even want to stick its neck out in this weather. Maybe it's wearing a turtleneck. A gooseneck. I think I'm very funny. Let's see, it's going to call. Look. No, I thought it was going to make its call and then they flap their wings the way it started moving its etsy. That's why they call them Egyptian geese. You know that dance move? Where you put your hands out to the side? Must I demonstrate, Darby?
Yeah.
I have to demonstrate now. Yes.
I know that one.
That one. That's the Egyptian goose dance. But they also flap their wings at the same time. Yeah, I'll be here all day, Kirsty, all day doing these dance moves. Now, the reason why they will make the very loud sound and flap their wings around and bob their necks is because they're very territorial. So what territorial means is that they want to protect their home where they live, and they'll chase all the other birds away. They don't want anyone to come nearby. So by shouting out loud, they're saying, hey, keep away from us, this is our island, we got here first, basically. And then that's all it means. Anyways, I really want to get a little bit closer to that bushbuck. How do you feel, David? I think so. We don't normally see bushbuck. They're actually very shy antelope. And they like to live in very, very thick areas with lots of trees around them. And so it's really nice to see one out in the open like that. So I'm going to go a little bit closer. And I have a feeling that this bushbuck is relaxed, because you're going to see a lodge now called Chitwa Chitwa. There she is, and I think she goes in there to eat all the nice leaves that are very green. That's a very old bushbuck, and you can see, look how cold she is. She hasn't even brushed her hair today. It's all standing up. It kind of looks a little bit like mine. It goes frizzy with the rain, but that's awesome to see. So she's ruminating at the moment. So, what she's doing, you can sometimes see her. We'll see if once she finishes chewing, we call that a cud ball. So it's basically a ball of grass and leaves. Look, watch her throat. Whoop! Do you see that come up? How cool is that? Amazing. Now she's chewing it again. So and then she'll swallow it. Oh, I think that's pretty cool. To have dinner twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times. Wonderful. Shame, she must be absolutely freezing. She's very busy today. And even though she's just standing like that, she's actually still using energy by digesting her food. But maybe she's got a nice little sheltered spot in between those trees that'll be keeping her nice and warm. I'm a little bit sad that there's not really any animals down at the water today. It's very quiet. Normally there's lots and lots of things to have a look at. David, can you get the fish eagle? Am I going to have to reposition for you? Oh, no, perfect. Look at that bird over there. That is called an African fish eagle. And it has got very wet feathers at the moment, so I don't know how much flying it'll be doing. Maybe a little bit. And what that bird likes to do is it likes to swoop over the whole dam and then stick its feet in the water and catch a fish. They're really good at catching fish, but they also eat birds. They'll scavenge on the carcasses. They'll kind of just eat anything, but experts at fishing. And they don't even have any feathers on their legs all the way down to their feet so that they can fish properly. Otherwise, if they had feathers all the way down to their feet, they'd probably then land face first into the water if they try put their feet down in the water. But it's looking at something. It's very focused. Maybe there's another fish eagle sitting somewhere else. They're also territorial, like the Egyptian geese. Wonderful. Right, I'm going to try and creep up closer to that old lady bushbuck over there. In the meantime, it seems like Steve is doing a fantastic job in Kenya, and he's managed to find you the biggest cats in Africa.
Poor old bushbuck. Shame. That is what happens out in the wild. Unfortunately, we do all get old at some point. But Archie and I were driving along, and we had a bit of a feeling about going up this road that took us up the mountain, and look at what we found. Two beautiful lioness lying up close to some trees. It was very hot about an hour and a half ago before this rain came through, and now everything's cooled down. So they probably moved into the shade sometime in the day to try and just get away from the heat of the day. And now it is nice and cool, but she does look a little bit full, the one on the right. Yeah, lots of wildebeest around at the moment, so lots to eat. But maybe we'll be lucky and they might get up and move. You never know. Lions like to move when the temperatures are nice and cool. They don't like to move too much when it's hot. Most of the time you'll see them sitting just like that, lying down flat. But I'm not 100% sure who these lions are just yet. I found a pride here last week which were called the Salt Lick Pride, and I think it might be the same. Oregon, you think they look so light coloured? I agree with you completely. The lionesses that I saw the other day of the Salt Lick Pride were very light in colour, and these two are a little bit paler than the others that we normally come across, and that might have something to do with the area they hang out in. I'm not really sure. Look at that. One on the left is awake and the one on the left is still sleeping. She heard the alarm clock but doesn't want to wake up. Do we all know that feeling on a Saturday? And the alarm clock goes off, we go, oh no, alarm clock. But she's listening. In the distance she can obviously see animals, and very hard for lions to not look towards the animals. They always think dinner is over there. It's all about then getting up the energy to stand up, walk towards them, and then actually practice a hunt. There we go, she's going back to sleep again. But I think there's someone else in the bushes there. She keeps looking in that direction, doesn't she? Last time I saw these lions, there were 4 of them, with a big male. I mean, lovely to be able to find him. We haven't seen any of them since last week, Monday. But the Mara Triangle is a really big area to be driving around in, and if the lions are just off the road like where they are now, and you don't happen to drive along the road we just did, well, and you just won't see them. Just not possible. But very good. Sometimes that feeling that you get in your tummy, you have to go with it. Many, many times I've had that feeling and I've found leopards and lions. Ravinda, I'm not sure at the moment. I believe there was one of the prides. I think it was a sausage tree pride, had a white young lion. I don't know if he's still around. I don't know if he survived, but I haven't seen any yet. These two are quite pale, but they wouldn't be classified as white because they're not very, very light in color. But don't forget, white is not an albino. They still have pigment, they still have coloration. It's just a very, very low amount of melanin, or no melanin at all, which is why it's so beautiful and white. But a white lion out in the wilderness, they don't really do very well because they stand out like a white plastic packet in the middle of nowhere, and the lion's objective is to be camouflaged and to blend in with the grass, just like those little topy youngsters we saw before. And in this area where there's been a fire, the grass is very, very short. The lions don't hide very well, so they'll have to hunt at night. But in other areas that we'll try and get to, the grass is long. It's about as tall as my knee, sometimes even longer. And in that grass, you absolutely lose any form of animal in there. Okay, well, all the way back down to South Africa with Taylor McCurdy, who's still at the Chitwa watching hole.
We are. We're struggling to find things though, so we're trying to look at birds. There's lots of swallows and things flying around now. Ah, look what's landed in front of us. Oh, wait, actually, what have you got there? They're all just sitting on the side of the wall. I think they're just trying to keep warm. Doesn't look like they're any... Maybe they're nesting? I can't see very well. Oh no, they're freezing. Shame, look at them. All just trying to keep out of the wind in the miserable rainy weather. So they're just going to sit there, I think, for most of the day. Oh no, that's a shame. That's so sad. Right, okay, all the birds have flown away in front of us. Well, oh no, hang on, there's sparrows. Look at those interesting things on the floor. Well, those are southern grey-headed sparrows. Don't you fly away, you must stay there, little birdies. They're very pretty, but I'm sure some of you, well, I'm sure most of you get sparrows at home of the equivalent. We're just going to carry on along here. Oh, hang on. Hippos have got out of the water. I have to just turn the car like this. Look at that. Now you can see how big a hippopotamus gets. I'm going to lay down so you can all see nicely. There they are. Oh, this is interesting. Hi, hippos. Oh no, look at all the scratches on that hippo's back. That's no good. Shame, that one's obviously got into a bit of a fight now. Hippos have got very, very big, sharp teeth. And when they get angry, they get really angry. And that's what can happen. They can get all these big cuts on them. But hippos are very, very lucky because they have this stuff that they secrete from their bodies. And basically in that substance, it has got a sunblock, so it helps protect them from the sun, and it's also got an antibacterial, which means it's basically got medicine, so it will help fix all those scars and cuts really, really quickly. You can imagine these hippos live in very dirty water, so they could get an infection, so they've got something to help them get better very quickly. But they're very lucky to see a hippopotamus out of the water because they normally only come out at night time or when it's nice and cool like today. But I haven't seen a hippo out of the water for quite some time. So that's a boy hippopotamus over there. And he's big, but I don't think he's fully grown just yet. I think he's still quite young. I think he's maybe hungry. Animals are all very hungry at the moment because there's not a lot of grass. And hippos love to eat grass. It's their favorite thing in the whole wide world. Where are you going? It's going into that thicket. There's not much food in there either. So the hippos have to move very, very far away at the moment to try and find nice grass. Now, Zephyr, you've asked if those wounds that we saw on the other hippopotamus could have maybe been from lions. I don't think so. That the injuries we saw on that hippo are very, very common, actually, to see on hippopotamus. And I really think that it was another hippo that did that. I didn't see if it was a girl or a boy hippo. If it was a young boy, he might have got too close to maybe the big hippopotamus bull. And then he'd be very angry and then would have maybe chased him around a little bit. So I think that's what could have happened. But yes, lions, if they're big enough prides, will try and go for hippos. Listen. That's the hippos talking. They're saying hello to all of you. Very friendly hippopotamus. They're friendly from a distance. You don't want to walk up to a hippo and try and touch it. Now, James, of course, has not moved at all. He's still with the leopard, and now the hyena is around.
Oh, she's looking a little bit frustrated now. She got another small piece, and then she swallowed it down. But I must say, she's looking anxious. She's looking up, and she's looking around all the time, and I think it's because the wind is strong. And so it's difficult for her to smell and to hear. And I suspect also that because she's got a young cub, she's probably feeling quite stressed generally, thinking, should I go back, should I wait here, wondering if the cub is safe there at the den site. Brittany, she's got a very funny name, doesn't she? Corky. Brittany, her name is Corky because what she likes to do, or when we gave her her name, what she used to do, was she would sit at the den and she would plug the hole that her cub was in like a cork. And so that's why she's called Corky. Funny name for a hyena, I suppose, but that's why she's called Corky, and it just kind of stuck. And she's just going to have to wait very patiently. Now, if you watch again, which of course you should watch again, you can see that she's relatively easy to recognize because of those distinctive cuts on her left ear. So that's pretty distinctive. It makes it quite easy for us to identify Corky. We don't have to wait until she goes to a den and puts her bottom into it to cork it up. So that torn ear is pretty distinctive. But also, you could recognize her from the spots on her body. Now, it's very difficult to just do that straight off, but some of our viewers are real hyena experts. And, for example, if you just showed them those spots on the left shoulder, they'd be able to tell you straight away that this is Corky. They've made a real study of the hyenas here. She's looking in very, very good condition. Now, she jumped like that because another vehicle started its engine. Normally, the hyenas don't react like that, but because she's just a bit tense, she can smell something funny on the wind, or like I say, maybe it's because she's got her babies. Maybe that's why she's just a little bit tense and a little bit jumpy. Joe, no, I don't think she is the biggest female. I think Madam is the biggest female, if I'm not mistaken. She is the matriarch, or certainly has been the matriarch of this clan for a long time. And we don't know exactly where she is because we haven't had a den site on Djuma for quite some time. And so normally the matriarch is the biggest hyena. She'll probably be very similar size to Corky. But for example, if a very junior or low-ranking hyena is much bigger than a senior or high-ranking hyena, often that junior hyena will replace the senior hyena on the hierarchy, so she'll dominate the smaller one. Size plays a hugely important role out here in the animal kingdom, much less than it does in the human world, but I suspect it probably plays a bigger role in the human world than we like to admit quite a lot of the time. I'm going to reverse backwards slightly and let's see if we can't get a better view. The leopard is still in the tree, by the way. He hasn't moved at all. Sensor. Oh, there she goes. She did find some meat. Very clever. Riti, hyenas and leopards will fight with each other if they get into a space where the leopard is unable to run away. So a leopard is very unlikely to choose to be in a fight with a hyena because a leopard needs to be very careful. Now, there's a very good reason for this. Many of our viewers will have heard me say this 100 times, but I shall say it again because it's very important. A leopard, because it is solitary, cannot afford to get injured. So unlike a hyena or a lion or a wild dog, which lives in a group, if a leopard gets injured, it will be unable to hunt. And so it would be very difficult for the leopard to survive. Whereas if you're an injured hyena or lion or wild dog, well, while your clan or your pride might not necessarily help you eat, you can certainly go and get some scraps from what they've killed or what they've stolen. And in the case of a wild dog, of course, they will actively feed injured animals, whereas a leopard can do nothing if it's injured. It must try and hunt while it is injured. Let me go back a little. No, I'm going to stay right here. She's giving us a great show this afternoon. And you know, so often on these afternoons when it's cloudy and rainy, we don't see much. But it's very nice to be sitting with Corky now. Linda, I suspect you'll find that Corky can be away from her cub for almost a full day without it having any effect on the baby. They'll be able to survive that long without milk, but I don't think much longer than that before the youngster would have to be fed and starvation would become a risk. So, I'm hoping that she's going to take us back to the den at some stage today. That would be very special, because I love hyena cubs. And I used to go very often when we had a hyena den on Djuma. I'd go almost every day, actually, to go and see what was going on there. And that's, of course, the best place to learn the hierarchy, learn who's senior, who's junior, who's coming up the ranks. Now, I say she's in good condition. If you look at her there, you can see the muscles on her neck, very powerful. She's got a nice fat belly. You can't see her hips really, you can't see her ribs, so she's in good condition. Look at the muscles on her shoulders, they're a very powerful animal. Now, if there are animals on the continent here who are eating more than the hyenas here at Djuma, well, then they are probably the lions of the Masai Mara.
Yes, well, these animals will compete quite heavily with hyena in these areas. And up in the Masai Mara, we get huge groups and families of hyena because there is so much food that they need to fight against the big prides of lion. We're down in Djuma. You don't really see the hyena playing too much with the lions. Often, with the leopard, you will always see them following poor little Hassan there to steal his food, and very often they do catch his food. But up here, the lion prides specialize in the big game, like the wildebeest over there, and the hyena also specialize in hunting them. They don't only steal from lions, they also will fight the lions from their own kills, and they will also hunt for themselves. So very important up here. Rosalind, you want to know if hyenas are stronger than lions? They are not. I mean, a female lioness gets up to about 135 pounds, so about 135 kilograms, so about 260 pounds, maybe a bit more than that, whereas the biggest hyena you will get, probably about 180 pounds, the biggest. So really what hyena do and where their strength comes is in numbers. Some of the clans up here in the Mara can be over 70 numbers. 70! So that is a really, really big number. And when they see lion, well, they can chase them off because there's just so many of them, so many mouths, like an army of hyena coming in. And when there's so many, lions will often move away. But it's not just against the lions that they're fighting. They also have enormous territory warfare with other hyena in the areas which also have a very similar sized numbers there. But these lions are not fighting with anybody right now. They are probably drenched from the rain that came through, probably feeling quite happy that it's not as warm as it was, but still having a nap, because lions, boys and girls, will sleep for at least 20 hours every day. Oh, Lalamur, you want to know if there's any caves in the Mara? Well, there's no caves that I know of. I did ask around last time I was asked that question, and I haven't heard of any caves in the Mara itself. It's possible there might be some nooks and crannies in the mountains, but not any real caves. And lions aren't really known for living in caves. It's a misconception. A lot of people think caves and lions, and I suppose even in the Bible they talk about that lion den, and it's not really something that happens. Lions live out on the open landscape, and if anything lived in a den, it would be a hyena, maybe a leopard, but they don't really live in caves themselves. We are the people who coined the cave livers, the cave dwellers, and that's how we managed to overcome these guys on the landscape. But our lions are sleeping. It looks like the little chief is up and active.
Oh, he's down. There he is. Look at him. He's looking at you now. He's very happy to see you and to meet you. And he's looking at the hyena. I don't see exactly where the hyena is at the moment. Why was Linda in such a bouncy tree? What's that, Linda? Is that what you said? A bouncy tree? Linda, I don't think it's a very bouncy tree. It's a pretty standard issue bounce tree, this one. I don't really know how to answer that question, Linda. It's a pretty normal tree. It's branchy. It's very full of branches. Oh, I see it. So you mean the branches look unstable? Well, often, Linda, what they do is they just take the animal that they've killed up the first tree that is safe. And what I think happened here is that he was been feeding on the ground all day, and then the hyena pitched up, and so he would have grabbed the kill and taken it up the first tree he could use. And so this is one of the ones that he could find. It's a good one. There's a better one not too far from where we're sitting. It would probably have been a better option. But this one is not too bad. But you'll find that's why he's come down to clean himself. So he's full. He's eaten enough now. And because the tree isn't particularly comfortable, nice, wide, smooth branches for him to lie on, he'll come and rest on the ground and do his cleaning on the ground and that sort of thing, rather than doing it up in the tree. Whereas if the tree was slightly more comfortable with smoother bark, like a marula tree, this particular tree is called a tamboti tree, but if it was a marula tree, well, then he would probably spend a bit more time in the tree resting. Look at him. Oh, he's a wonderful cat, that. Now, if you do see a pole or some canvas, it is because it has been raining today and we've had to put our roof up, and that's to protect us from the rain. Hello, fella. I haven't seen him for more than 3 weeks, everyone. And he's quite easy to recognize. I'm not very good at recognizing our animals, but he's pretty easy to recognize. Oh, that's hopeless. All right, let me try and move the car slightly and see if we can get a better view. All right. Taylor's got a close relative of the unfortunate antelope that is up in the tree over there.
Well, normally antelope can't climb trees. Sometimes they can. This is a really, really big one. This is called a kudu, and it's one of the most beautiful antelope out here. But he's hiding behind a tree. But I think if we're patient, we either see him or we'll see his friend, because there's another big kudu that's actually coming just up on the termite mound. Oh no, he's disappearing. Look at his big horns. So that's what we call the things on the top of his head. They're not antlers, those are called horns. Oh, they're going back down again. Well, at least he came out in the open quickly so that we could have a look at him. Isn't that clever? See how he lowers his head and tilts it up just slightly so that the kudu horns, which are really, really long, don't get stuck on any of the branches. Ah, that was awesome, but they're on the go now. Bye, kudu. Maybe we can see them one last time. Let's see if they're going to run away from us. A little bit. I'm just going to run away a little bit, so I'm just going to quickly turn around. But they're going to go out of our property now, so where we can't go. And these actually, they're big, but they're not the big boys. You'll see some kudu that are even bigger than these guys. They don't have much muscle now. Look how careful they're being too. They don't want to just walk very quickly into that area because there could be a lion there and then they'd be in a lot of trouble. So they're just going to take their time and move on in slowly. But they're beautiful. It's really nice to see them. Sometimes they're so shy, you just get a quick glimpse of them before they've completely run away. So count yourselves very, very lucky to see these amazing antelope out in the open like this and not running around. Look at little white tips on the tops of their horns, and look at those spirals. So you know we saw that bushbuck, gogo, that I was telling you about on the island? This is the relative also. So we see the kudu, the inyala, and the bushbuck, and they're all in the same family. So they are cousins of one another, basically. They're in the family of antelope with spiraled horns. And you can see why. But the kudu have got the most incredible horns, and their ones twist the most. And then the inyala is the next biggest, and then the bushbuck is the small one. Right, we're going to go see what else we can find now. Off we go back to James, who's still with that pretty leopard.
Yes, the little leopard is now cleaning himself a little bit away from the tree. We don't have a great view, but let's wait here and see what he does. We've got a little bit longer of our kids' drive, and so I don't think we'll go anywhere from here. We'll enjoy the sighting of Hosana, the male leopard. Karen, I'm sure he has grown slightly since I last saw him 3 and a bit weeks ago, but I can't notice a difference, no. If I was to guess, I'd say he's probably put on about 1 kilogram or so. That would be my guess. Maybe put on 1 kilogram or so. It's about 2 pounds, maybe 1 pound. From now he'll grow pretty slowly until his maximum size, which he'll attain around about 6 years. And he'll grow even slower between 4 years and 6 years. So he grew pretty quickly up until this point. But if I went away for 6 months and then came back and saw him, yes, then I would notice quite a big difference. But 3 weeks, no, not so much. If he had been very tiny, say only 3 weeks old, and I'd come back and he was 6 weeks old, well, then the difference would be obvious. And if you ever want an example of that, all you need to do is watch a puppy or a kitten grow, and you'll notice that when they're very young, they also grow at a tremendous speed. There we go. Good. I'm glad we didn't move. I think we stayed in the right place. Pole's going to come into the picture. Sorry about that. There it is. Now, he's got quite a short nose for a leopard. That's how I recognise him straight away. And there is another vehicle there. They're enjoying the sighting as well with us. And he's in very good condition. Often you'll see young leopards, or older leopards even, get up and limp a little bit because they're stiff from some or other injury that they've gained. That's a rattling testicular, that bird you can see there, I think. Yep. Now he might lie down there, but often what happens now is that they'll go to the loo, which is not really much fun to watch. June leopards can actually go without drinking almost permanently. They can live in desert areas and almost never drink, and that's because they get sufficient water from their prey. But if they can drink, they will. So there's water close by. It hasn't been a hot day today. He might go and have a drink a bit later, but it's not necessary that for him to drink now. Often they do drink when it's hot and when they've eaten a lot and their stomachs are very full. I'm not going to move just yet. I think we're going to wait and see. Oh, now all we've got is bush. No, here we go. Let's just see if he lies down or if he moves. No, he's lying down. All right, let's try and get one more view of him. I know we've got very little time left on the kids' show. Yeah, you might get a view of him there, Senzo. How's that? Is that all right? There we go. A nice last view of Hosana. All right, kids, thank you very much for joining us. If you want to keep watching, you just go to SafariLive on YouTube. You can catch the rest of our 2-hour drive. Otherwise, we'll see you next Saturday for the Nat Geo Kids Drive. It's been wonderful having you with us. Thank you for your questions and your comments, and we'll see you again same time next week. Bye-bye. Hello everybody else, here we are, still sitting with Hosanna. This is my normal show voice, by the way. You'll notice that it's not quite as frenetic as the other voice that I use when I am presenting. Anyway, there is Hosanna, sitting in the deep bushes, enjoying himself, enjoying his Saturday afternoon. I suppose the only thing that could make it better for him would be satellite television and the rugby on. But I don't think he knows too much about rugby, so he's probably fine just sitting there. My name is James Hendry, if you have just joined us. Please do talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Or, what's the other way? No, that's the only way you can speak to us. I suddenly went back 3 years and nearly gave you an email address, but you can't use the email address. You can use the chat stream on YouTube, however. All right, that's Hosanna. Let's go across to a big bird over there, please, Senzo. I've just spotted it. It is a tawny eagly. It is sitting there because I suspect very strongly that it has spotted this meat bonanza in the tree, and it's hoping perhaps to pick up a few scraps. Definitely a tawny eagle. Is very scruffy, very dark on the wings, mottled almost. Might be quite a young one too. And you may have heard the cursing, if you like, of the Egyptian geese. Well, they were cursing, of course, at the tawny eagly. Thank you very much for your kind welcomes back to me. It's very nice to be back.
It's for me.
Linda, you were wondering where my Saturday shorts are. I actually didn't wear them today. I forgot completely to wear them on the Saturday show. So I don't have them on. Senzo would like to know why nobody is welcoming him back, because he's just been away as well.
No, it's my welcome back, not yours.
Oh, it's yours. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood him. He says they're actually for him, not for me. I think that's probably true. Senzo, just by the way, has returned from leave with these fine items. They are waterproof mittens, which I've never seen before. I'm not sure why he felt the necessity to bring waterproof mittens back to summer here in the Lowveld, but, well, the decision was justified today, I suppose. It is pretty cold and pretty wet. I've stolen one so that I might model it for you. There's Senzo's waterproof mitten. Very nice. Good. All right, let's go back to Taylor T-Bomb McCurdy. I don't know where she is or what she's looking for at the moment.
Not telling you, James. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just going to drive around and you'll never guess where I am. I'm on my way to Treehouse Dam at the moment. We're looking for elephants. Right, look. Look who's joining us on the safari this afternoon. Hey, Maurice. I'm kind of envious. I wish he was driving and I was sitting in his hood, because I'd be a whole lot warmer than what I am right now. But he's very happy to be there in the jacket. So hopefully he'll stay there for most of the drive. He keeps flopping out every now and then. But we'll keep him under control. Right, now, I don't know what we're going to do. I think we're gonna have to just rely on finding elephants. So we'll check Treehouse Dam. I was hoping that with that herd that we saw this morning, if you're watching the sunrise safari, right towards the end, we had such an incredible view of some elephants, and it didn't seem like they were moving particularly quickly, so I thought we'd find them. But I'm now wondering if it wasn't the herd that was on the dam cam. When I initially popped down into the Mulwati drainage system, I saw lots of ellie tracks kind of heading in that direction. But there have been a number of different herds on the property, so, you know, it really could have been anyone's. But we'll keep on searching. I need elephants. I have to have them. Otherwise I can't go home. If I don't find the elephants, no. We'll find elephants. I don't know if we should even trek Treehouse Dam. Hello, Carrot Top. Oh my goodness, I haven't heard from you for ages. I think I've answered a question from you before. Now, my most memorable moments, I don't know. There's so many. I've been very, very, very lucky. Kirsten is now, she tries to brainwash me. She said when Kirsten directs, that's been one of my memorable moments. Kirsten actually came out of hibernation from directing just for me today. Thank you, so sweet. Oh, see, I almost crashed into the knob thing because I'm looking at the camera. It's dangerous sometimes. Anyways, obviously I think falling in the mud, the mongoose sighting, the gerbils, that awkward buffalo sighting I had today this morning was fantastic. I liked the day that 2 years ago, was it? Yeah, almost 2 years ago, October, Halloween, when I put eyeliner all over my face and drew different things on. I think that's when you all realized how weird I actually was. That was pretty cool. And then we had the Nkuhuma lions right at Vuyatela Pan, and they'd killed a baby buffalo, or they were killing a baby buffalo, and they were teaching the young cubs how to sort of take it on, which was amazing. I'd never seen that before, especially cubs that were so young. They were like only 6 months old. So that was amazing. Sure. Every day has been pretty cool. I mean, some days are better than others in terms of wildlife, but I don't think I've ever gone a day at Wild Earth without laughing. Shame Kirsten's not listening very well today. I already said that right in the beginning. That was like the first thing I said, but it's okay. Well, it's your first day back in directing. Kirsten wants me to remind you all again about the mud, me falling into the mud. Yeah, that was pretty funny. It definitely was. That's when people say to me, like, oh, hi, oh, yeah, Taylor, you fell in the mud, or the mongoose girl. I get those two things. That's what I'll be known for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure I'll do some more embarrassing things, and I'm pretty sure they'll end up online. So don't worry. Even though I'm leaving you guys, I'm not dead. I'll still be around. Love me, my social media, so don't you stress. Don't worry, maybe I'll be back somewhere down the line. But I am hopping on a plane on Tuesday though. Oh, where am I going? I wonder where I'm going. So yeah, so I pretty much leave tomorrow to go home, and I have like a day and a half at home with the family. And then hi-ho Silver, off we go to another destination, which I'm pretty excited about. You'll just have to wait and see where I go. Maybe I'll tell you later. If you keep watching the end of the show, we'll see. So yeah, I don't know. I've had some great times. What else have I can't remember. Every single day that we pretty much dressed up. Right, we're gonna try and navigate around Aubrey, who's hiding under all his clothes from the weather, just like us. Or if we go back to Steve, who's on a bumble. Oh no, it's still another 10 seconds. Sorry, I thought you'd already done your link.
Well, we found a beautiful secretary bird on top of a thorny looking tree. I'm trying to identify the tree. I think it might be one of the shepherd's trees, but this is kind of where they like to nest, if they do nest, but it doesn't look like it was nesting. Its wings are flayed out, and maybe it was trying to probe in there to try and get, I don't know, some birds that are maybe inside the tree. Hard to tell, but that would be an ideal kind of place for a secretary bird to position its nest. They like to nest on sort of medium-sized, spiny type of trees. So maybe that is what's happening. Maybe she is just feeling the comfort, having a look at the view, because the view, I must tell you, is quite spectacular. If I was a secretary bird, well, I would most certainly choose this as the view. We left the lions. They are flat. They're doing absolutely nothing. So we thought we'd come down to the Salt Lick, where there are a bound of wildebeest everywhere. And the salt lick, for those of you who do not know what it is, it's actually a low-lying area, a little bit of a sort of a flay-like sort of pan that would have evaporated water and over many, many years probably left a layer of salt on the floor. And the herdsmen, the Maasai herdsmen, are actually allowed to bring their cattle in here in times of the year when there are no wildebeest. So they come in, the cattle obviously like to lick the soil. Salt is an important part in the diet of many animals, but for now it is the wildebeest that are enjoying the vegetation here, and some of the zebra, of course. Everybody likes a little bit of salt in their diet, and there's a lot of animals that will physically go and lick salt areas and eat soil. Reety, hello. You want to know how herbivores survive in this cold and rainy weather? Well, it's not actually that cold. The wind, obviously, and the rain does make it a little bit colder than normal, but the temperatures here are pretty standard. They don't get ever really below 10 degrees Celsius, so never below 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not that cold, to be honest with you. Actually, never below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's never too chilly here. But the rain is actually what makes it. All the grass, all the vegetation rebirthed, revitalized after the rain. And because it doesn't get too cold here, the animals can actually do quite well without too many adaptations. It doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. It's pretty standard throughout the year. The temperatures don't vary too much. So it's actually not that cold. It's actually quite lovely. I'm wearing my jacket purely because I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to cold temperatures, but it was mainly because the rain picked up and it was a bit of a breeze. But well, they eat. Animals eat, and that keeps them nice and warm. You know what a good meal can do to your tummy. If you're ever cold, just have yourself a little bit of something to eat, and well, that's what the wildebeest are doing. Eating and eating and eating. Well, we're going to go all the way down the hill here, as far as we can go. It's my first time actually coming into this area. You can see all the wildebeest at the bottom there. That's the low-lying area where you probably find the salt. So I'm going to go and see if I can have a look. But in the meantime, let's go back down to James Hendry and the Little Chief.
Search for the wildebeest. Aren't there lots of them all around there? Well, I hope he finds them, because if he can't find them, I suspect they are not there. Oh, they're at the salt licks. That's a very interesting thing, or interesting place for them to be. Well, here we are with Hoshana. You can see we've moved slightly. He's moved very little. He does lift his head up from time to time and look about the place and sniff the air and wonder what else entertaining there might be for him here on Saturday afternoon. At the moment, all he's managing to do is try and stay warm. I was told it was about 19 degrees Celsius here. I believe that to be a foul and contemptible untruth. I don't believe it's 19. I think it's probably closer to the temperatures that poor old Vov is experiencing in the Mara, somewhere around 16 or 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Not what I expected when I pulled in here yesterday. It was quite arrived. I have not seen Scoobert since my return, but I have watched his progress on social media. I will confess that it is the only bit of sort of animal social media I kept up with. No, that's not true. I would watch with great joy as Tingana found himself a consort, or she found him. I found that fantastic to see. I was deeply excited by the old boy's success on that front. And then, of course, Scoberto and his survival. I particularly enjoyed the little first attempt at flying. Has anyone actually seen him fly properly yet? I'm so pleased he's alive. In the most ridiculous place for him to have been born. I mean, there's a light on him all night long, and yet there he is, Scoobert the survivor. So I'd love to know if anybody's actually seen him fly properly just yet. Oh, the other thing of course, I did keep up with from time to time was the fact that Corky has a cub and that we have a den on Djuma. That was very exciting over the last 3 weeks. So those are the three highlights of my time away as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there have been many others, but those were the 3 Juma highlights. So apparently reports are that Scoobert has had a short flight. Poor little fellow must be desperate to get his wings and take off and save himself from the snapping jaws all around him, endless snapping jaws and stomping feet. How old is he now? He must be about 40 days old, right? Must have been about 20 days when I left. I think he's 42 or 3 days old. We'll see if we can't go and spot him now. In fact, while this cat is doing absolutely nothing, we may well head off and see if we can't see Scoberto. Then we might pop past the hyena den for the sake of it, and then come back here. Trish and Linda, you say Scoberto is 44 days old. Well, he should be flying by now. So I think we'll probably leave this sleeping cat and go and see if we can't find Scoobert, as I say, and then maybe pop round to the hyena den and then come back here. We don't want to drive too far on a day like this because it's cold and blustery. All right, while we get out of here, let's go to Taylor, who is very bravely driving.
Yes, it's very dangerous to be out driving. Actually, Louise tagged me in something very funny on Facebook today, so I just want to turn the radio up a little bit. Basically what it was about people being afraid of sharks, and most of you know I'm terrified of sharks. It's because I don't understand their behavior and I'm a sissy. So that's really just what it boils down to. And anyways, so she tags me in this thing, and basically it's like 10 other things you should be more frightened of than being afraid of sharks. And one of them was actually driving, eating, also featured, which was awesome. I was like, yeah, I suppose people choke often. Anyways, it wasn't funny though. But the sharks didn't even feature on 10 things that you should be careful of or whatever. Anyways, and I suppose I should tell you one more embarrassing story about what I did the other night. So we had this amazing display of dinner. I can't even remember what it was. I think it was chicken a la king, and what was it, Darby? I can't remember what was for. No, I don't think you were there for that. Meatballs and spaghetti, and then there was also chicken a la king and like an array of veggies and deliciousness in general. And Kirsten and I looked at one another and went, dinner bowls, because we try. I don't know why we eat everything out of bowls. It's really weird. We've had a few of the viewers who have come on the Wild Earth expedition type vibes, and they've said it was the weirdest thing they've seen, how we eat all our meals out of bowls. So I wanted to run to the kitchen to get my favorite bowl before Kirsten could get it. The sliding door was closed. Guess who ran straight into it, hard, in front of everyone, except Darby didn't get to see it, sadly. I'll do it again for you tonight. Yeah, everyone's now saying it was wonderful. It was quite funny. I was lucky I didn't smash my face though, because I've done that a few times. I had my cap on, and luckily this hit it and my knee hit the sliding door. I don't know how I didn't break the sliding door, but anyways, I hit it so hard and then bounced back. It was quite funny. Anyways, but you know me, accident prone Taylor, always hurting herself. So earlier on in the, or not with me, Kirsten has made it very clear that you're all laughing at me, not with me. Thank you. So when we started the show, we noticed there were some elephants just across the way, around sort of towards Mvubu Road. So I think we're going to go across the dam wall. Everyone is out of the camp now, and I think we'll try and find them. I'm hoping they would have gone towards Gari Cut Line. That would be ideal, because they're not too far away from the boundary, and also there's no roads that kind of run in the middle of that block, so that's going to be a problem to try and find them. These elephants better not start their nonsense on my last game drive. I mean, I think that's pretty rude. Do I even still have Maurice? Oh, he's gone to sleep. Joshua, my favorite elephant, is here in my jacket. That one, Maurice. That is my favorite elephant in the whole wide world. And then second is Daryl. If you don't know who Daryl is, I think on Twitter, actually, on my profile, I pinned a picture or video of Daryl, so if you wanted to have a look at him. He's so cool. He's got a bell shape in one of his, like, cut out of his ear. and all natural, of course. And he used to live down at Sabi, which was a camp I used to work at. And he still lives down there. They see him every single day. He goes on top of the roof and looks down from the skylights, which is a bit dangerous, but anyways. But he just does his thing, and he's very chilled around people. Like, he'll come into camp. I used to sit on my windowsill, and he'd feed literally a foot or two away from me, not bothered at all. So he's epic. We've seen him a couple of times up here. He's caused a few problems, but he's never done anything to me, which is... I mean, it's just, I think I just caught him on his good days. But he can be a handful. He's a big elephant. But he's also a bit of a scaredy cat, though, because the one day he was annoying all the guests and no one would come for high tea. This is back down in the southwestern corner of the Sabi Sand. And he wouldn't listen to me, and now trying to very gracefully, without having to shout at him, encourage him to go somewhere else. And eventually I got, no, I'm done with this now, you go on safari. So I kicked the sand. And then as I kicked the sand, it obviously made a different noise, and he got frightened, and he turned and he ran away. So it was a good way, easy way to get rid of him without having to raise my voice. Just to do that. I actually might have a video of that still. Sorry, I'm now. This keeps flapping up. Stay like this. And then I was thinking of some of my other best memories. So I'm going to try and find some animals in a minute. Some of my favorite people memories, and one of them was with Darby when we were in the Mara. Do you remember that day? When it poured and poured and poured with rain, and then that afternoon the car was starting to break. We ate Cocoa Pops we had a great breakfast. It was so nice. Yeah, on the other side of the river in the Masai Mara National Reserve. We even got changed like outside the car because we were all like wrapped up, and then it just got boiling hot, so we had to get shorts on. So I'm sure everyone was watching us as we were going on safari. We couldn't find a quiet place to quickly like change up, but whatever. And what else happened? Oh, then we're in late at night. It was like after 10 o'clock, pouring with rain, cars not working properly, almost got stuck, but like in deep water, trying to go through the crossings to desperately just get out. It was like a little mini, it wasn't a flash flood, but actually it could have been, because the Talek River was raging that night. So it actually could have been a little bit of a flash flood with the amount of rain that came through. Anyways, and then I got upset because we couldn't find our way home. For ages we were lost, and we're just going around, and I'm not even in the reserve anymore. Round and round, trying to find the secret corridor that went to Camp Olasheki, remember? It was bad. And then the next day was a lot of fun because the roads were really muddy. So we did some mudding, and we slipped and slid around the corners. That was a lot of fun. I think you shouted, what did you shout? Off-road safaris of Tamariki! Like something ridiculous like that. And then we obviously took a video. And we were sliding around on the roads, just taking, I mean, I did it for you live. Those roads got so muddy. Then Eggsy and I've got two favorite memories with Eggsy: elephants. Freaky Friday, Freaky Friday. Kirsten shouted that out as I started singing it, but there's a delay. Remember the day in the tent where Eggsy was on camera with me? Eggsy's actually our editor, but he would step in every now and then when we needed some extra help. I promise you we're going to get animals now. And then we decided I took the camera, and we decided that there was a thunderstorm and that we body switched basically. So I spoke, and Eggsy just moved his mouth like that while I spoke for him, and I was on camera, and he was sassing and using his hands. And then the other one was when we did the anti-gremlin dance to one of James's songs on Twin Dams with the guarri bushes. That was ridiculous. Yeah, actually, we did a lot of embarrassing things. I'm trying to think what else. I've had some spectacular drives, and then I think one of my favorite all-time safaris was with, hello little elephant. We'll watch the little elephant as I tell you this story because it's a long one. So it's tale of story time. Was with Manu, and we'd gone out. We'd been out the whole day. We were other side of the river. We were watching the Five Musketeers, the cheetah, which was spectacular. We also got caught in a horrendous downpour, and then I reversed into another car. That was exciting. Then we had the cheetah they hunted. Remember, they caught a baby Thompson's gazelle, and then a lioness showed up, and then we found the male lions that were doing all the roaring, and then we had the gerbil sighting, which was hilarious. That's a good one if you haven't seen that just yet. So that was grand. So that was like, and we saw a mildred, we saw a millipede that night too. So that was like a whole day of safari with like I always say this, like a roller coaster of emotions, from annoyed because we got wet, angry because I reversed into a car, excited because we got to see the cheetah take down a kill, laughing at all, and then obviously your body, I don't even know how to describe the feeling when a lion roars, that you sort of feel, but you get serious goosebumps. It's amazing. And then just absolute hysterics with the mongoose right at the end. So that was hands down one of the best safaris I think I've ever done. And then any day spent with elephants and whoever's on the car with me was always pretty cool. Darby and I had a great sighting this morning. Now, this bunch of elephants is a lot more relaxed than they were a little bit earlier. There was lots of trumpeting going on. Jamie actually came out to investigate to see what had caused a stir, because she said at Inga's, where she lives, they were just making an absolute noise the entire afternoon. See, there's lots of Ellies all around here. So they actually came out on Gari Cutline, which was fantastic. That worked perfectly. What is this elephant doing in here? Sorry, David. Trying to get in there. It even kicked it just now. Very excited. Must be eating, obviously just eating the roots. But I was really trying to push it over. Unfortunately, it's quite a small elephant, so it's not going to be really pushing much over. Even those sticks will be a bit of a struggle. Look at it. No. Done now. Right, I'm not sure what's happened with James, but let's go across to him. It doesn't sound like something fantastic has happened.
Hello everybody. Sad news really, old Scoobert didn't make it. I don't really know what happened. It looks to me like he was stood on, probably by the buffalo that were here, maybe some elephants. But you know, he survived many elephant and buffalo drinking here before, so why this one, I'm not sure. His parents are still there. That's really very miserable indeed. Oh well, nothing to be done, I suppose. Such is the cruelty of nature. He looks kind of flattened. I don't think it can have been a predator, or they would have eaten him, I'm sure. Yes, Crafty, I think we can have a moment of silence, actually. I feel sort of that, I'm not sure how irrational it is, but there's that sadness I'm sure you all feel when, or know what I mean, when it feels slightly silly to be sad about a dead bird, but at the same time, I suppose we've known him for such a long time, and you attach so much emotion and joy to the little chap, and then for him to have died so close to achieving his independence is just seems very unfair somehow. Oh well. And I'm sure, like me, many of you are very upset. I had to hold back a couple of tears there. Well, I suppose we better go off to the hyena den. Maybe there's something more cheerful going on over there. Made even worse by the foulness of this weather. Anyway, sorry about that. It was going to be a cheerful little segment with Scooby as he made it into adulthood. Not to be. Well, Julie, I suppose that's attempting and doing valiantly, attempting to keep the glass vaguely with some form of liquid in it. At least he gave us 44 days. Well, yes, quite. At least he did. He had a 20% chance of making it to fledging. And unfortunately, he was one of the 80% that don't quite get there. Nature can seem very cruel. Hello, Christine. Last time I was here, you were here too, of course. You say we should put him on the memory wall. Yeah, I'm not sure he should go on the wall, but simply because I don't think the wall could take all of the wonderful animals we meet out here that pass on, but maybe there should be some kind of record that we have, even if it is just online, for those special characters that anyone can add to, you know, that is open to anyone to add to. If there's this particular character or favourite that disappears, perhaps anyone should be allowed to add something. I think that'd be quite a nice idea. Again, it feels quite silly to be sad about the death of a bird, but, well, that is just how it is. You want to go this way? Oh, right. Apparently, Senzor says the hyena den is not at Aubrey's Road, so we'll go where Senzor says we should go. Until then, let's go across to the Mara.
Poor little Scoobit. Well, not quite sure what happened there. Very sad indeed. But we are down in the low-lying areas of what is the Salt Lick area. And essentially what it is, it's just a low-lying sort of pan system. And all geological formations pretty much have salt in them, and the salt gets washed down, or sodium gets washed down to the lowest lying areas in the landscape. And with the moisture here, that with a bit of salt, it's quite a high attraction for lots and lots of animals to come down, and we've been following this little system for some time. It really is really pretty down here. Really pretty. My first time venturing through these parts. And who knows what we will find. We've had the wildebeest all quite high up on the landscape. None of them down in the marsh itself at the moment, but then a couple lonely buffalo to the right over here. Is he enjoying some luscious green grass? Here they are. A couple dugger boys, covered in mud, and wondering what threat we might pose from this distance. And ooh, what are those in front of them? Those look like some oribi. Could be oribi to the left. Hard to tell from this distance, really. They are in the long grass feeding. Could be an oribi. Quite a long face. Might even be a reedbuck, though. I can't really tell from here. Doesn't seem to have a very large preorbital glands on the face. Anybody out there can identify from this distance what antelope species we have there grazing in the long flay-like area? The face looks like a reedbuck to me. I wonder if anyone can confirm that. It is quite far off. When you see the size comparison to the buffalo, they're much smaller, but they're far bigger than a steenbok, which means that I wouldn't think oribi. There's another one peeking its head out. We do get reedbuck around, and they're enjoying themselves, hiding in the thickets. And we just get some horns on that one. Yeah, oribi have got very straight horns, whereas these don't. Very good, beautiful landscape, isn't it? We're hoping to find another Pride Alliance, perhaps the Sausage Tree Pride, somewhere in and around here, doing a big loop through the Salt Lick area. As we come out the other side, who knows what could be on the landscape. And since the rain started falling, we haven't seen a single other car out here in the Mara Triangle, which is quite incredible. Absolutely incredible, in fact. We have this landscape all to ourselves. Still thunder and lightning in the distance, and we're going to be heading sort of back towards the north, away from the rain, but it seems like Taylor has finally had some luck with her elephants.
We have. So we've actually moved on from the ones we had just a moment ago because they ducked into the drainage line. And then we came back actually really close to camp. And I think this might be the herd of elephants that Jamie was talking about that was causing absolute havoc. I mean, check that. She actually looks like she could be the matriarch. She's quite a big elephant cow. She's carrying a weapon now. Her walking stick. Perhaps she is moving on with age. And she needs that for assistance. No, I'm just joking. She doesn't. She's, of course, just nibbling on it. But that's an incredibly large branch. I'd have to use 2 hands to pick that up. I don't think I could carry that branch with 1 arm. But that is awesome. And she's quite happy to not go anywhere. See, the rest of the herd has now started moving. Maybe she's not the matriarch. Maybe there's a couple of other bigger cows in here. I'd be very scared of that elephant with that big stick. And she's going to take it with her. This one might have its own stick. It does make me a little bit sad, of course, to see these animals having to eat branches when, of course, they'd prefer to be eating the lush green vegetation. That's why I say the elephants in the Mara, I think, in terms of sort of food resources, have it a lot easier than the elephants here in South Africa, and particularly here in the Low-Veld region. Well, I mean, I don't really need to say much. You can see why. You look where Steve is, and yes, the grass is still yellow, but there's still a whole lot of grass around. There's lots of fruit, you know, on the various trees, and there's lots and lots of green leaves for them to feed on. So you very rarely see the elephants. And even with their tusks, the tusks of the elephants in the Mara, they aren't as well designed as the elephants' tusks are here in the Sabi Sand or just in South Africa. They do a lot of digging here, so they need that sort of curve in the tusk. It helps them, especially when they have to reach down to the floor, and you'll see them sticking their tusks in the ground and almost hooking them on roots and then pulling them up to expose them from underneath the ground so that they can eat them, which I think is pretty cool. I don't think elephants would be able to do that as well with the very straight tusks that you typically see with the elephants in Kenya. So I suppose they all have their special adaptations depending on where they live, which is pretty amazing to see. Ooh, now the wind is starting to howl again. Those little Ellie calves are going to be a little bit chilly tonight. Rosalind, this is my favorite question because every book I've read and I always say this says something completely different about how many muscles an elephant has in its trunk. But I would say about 10,000 or so. Some say 30,000, I've seen 60,000, I've seen 100 muscles, but I would say about 10,000 muscles. Most of them being small muscles, and a couple of large ones there too. But it's just, it's amazing how they're able to move their trunks around like the way that they do. What an amazing appendage. The fact that they've got 4 feet and then an extra trunk, it's like us. It's like, imagine having a 5th arm. Or a 3rd arm, sorry, because we're not an octopus. Well, they have 8. But if we had a 3rd arm, that's like the equivalent of an elephant's trunk, which is pretty epic. You could do so much more. Then you could text and drive, don't you think? No, I'm joking, please don't do that. It's dangerous. We don't want anybody to be in an accident. It's also silly and unnecessary. I do like how phones these days, you can set them to basically your phone won't receive any messages while you're in the car, which I think is very clever and very necessary. What's wrong, little elephant? What are you trying to take out of Mom's mouth? Now, Shane, that little elephant has not trained all its muscles in its trunk just yet. It's going to take a bit of time. So I think it must be difficult for those young elephants who are trying to learn. And of course, that little one will be suckling now. I mean, it looks like it's probably about a year old. So still suckling quite a bit. But for it hasn't even got any little tusks just yet. So there's no stripping of bark. It'd be very difficult to pull up roots. So I suppose when you can snatch a meal from mom, you know, why don't you? And you will often see them do that. Just kind of following the adults around and picking up what they drop on the floor, regardless whether it's covered in saliva or not. They'll gobble it all down. But I think we're going to try and spend most of the afternoon with this herd of elephants. They're just in the thicket for now, but eventually they'll venture onto the road, and who knows? Oh, okay, so Ravinda, I'm so glad that Pradeep is watching. I'm so excited. I hope all my young friends are watching. I know Tesla's watching this afternoon. I wonder if Lily's watching. I know that, well, Pradeep will look for a squirrel. I don't know if we'll see a squirrel in this weather, though. Maybe we'll check around termite mounds, because I think what they'll be doing is going in the termite mounds to look for a little bit of shelter. Or in the tops of the trees, we'll check all the tree cavities and see if we can find any squirrels for you, Pradeep. But I think that's definitely, well, who I'm going to miss the most is interacting with all of you youngsters. And I'm so glad that you've been watching and that we've become friends. And who knows, maybe I get to meet you guys one day. How cool would that be when you're big? Who knows, 10 years down the line, you'll all be grown up. Maybe then you wouldn't want to be my friend when you get older, though. You'll realize how uncool I actually am. No, I'm only teasing, but it has been a whole lot of fun. Kirsten is now agreeing and saying, yeah, probably they'll realize how uncool you are. For those of you who are new to watching SafariLive, don't be afraid of the banter. We all actually love one another. We just show our affection via sarcasm. Tough love. I get that at home a lot, which is always quite funny. Oh, nanny nanny boo boo. I like it if you say it quicker. But thank you, Kirsten, for saying it slowly so I could get it the first time. Now, the thing I think I'm going to miss the most about the Sabi Sand is probably the elephants right in front of us. That is most certainly the thing I'll miss the most. And the reason why I say this is because just the elephants in this area are just so incredible. They've got so much experience with humans. They know how to deal with us. And they tolerate us so much, which is awesome. So it allows you to get these very intimate, close contact sightings. And hopefully we'll have one this afternoon, maybe with one of these little youngsters. Maybe we'll get them to do a little trumpet and a mock charge. They can practice as to how big and scary they can be, which is always really sweet to see. Can't help but giggle. And, I mean, the characters here in the Sabi Sand are just so well documented too. So kind of like unlike anywhere else in the world. So the fact that, I arrived, I didn't quite get to see Hosana when he was very, very young, but I arrived when Shongile and Hosana were about 6 months old. And I got to watch them grow up, and Hosana's definitely crept into my heart. That is a hilarious leopard. I've never seen a cat with so much personality like that before, so I'll miss him a whole lot. I'm sure I'll meet other leopards, but I don't think I'll meet another leopard like him. There's just something very, very special about that cat. And then, of course, the people. Up here in the northern Sabi Sands, I can't tell you how down-to-earth the people are. From all the guides at the different lodges, they're a whole lot of fun. And so, yeah, just everything about it. It's hard to just pinpoint one thing. Right, David, are you ready to have a close encounter?
Yes.
I am. What we're going to do is I'm just going to pull back onto the road and we're going to roll down, because there's a couple of Elies approaching the road now. So I think if we're going nice and quietly. And it's downhill, which is kind of perfect, so I can just take the car to go. It's going to squeak. Wendy always squeaks. It's like her distress call. She doesn't make that noise. It's a little bit more high-pitched. Oh, you know what I'll do, David? I'll just go straight, and then you'll have to go out that side. Sure, I thought I just heard thunder for a minute. Hopefully not. But there they are. So they're slowly feeding in this direction. Although, there's something I really want to show you, David. I wonder if I put my foot on the... I know you've just leveled the camera, but there's a couple of... Oh, there we go. Never mind, David's made a plan. Look at the elephants on top of a termite mound. Look at that one. You're going to tumble off the top if you're not careful. Look at that. It's learning. Hasn't quite got the hang of it just yet, but definitely making some progress. I mean, I doubt you'd see an elephant cow, a big cow on the top of that termite mound trying to move that branch away. They'd probably choose something a little bit easier. That was quite entertaining to see the way that it was pushing the branches around. Right up top there. Oh, this is actually perfect. I think we've got ourselves in a very nice position. I mean, the elephants haven't shown us once that they're unhappy with us, and they're slowly edging towards us. Wonderful. Now, I think this is James's first sighting of a Corky's cub, if I'm not mistaken. It sounds like he's at the Aubrey's Road Den.
I am at the den, everybody, and I am telling you that there are 2 cubs here. That beautiful little thing you're looking at there, and there's another one in there. It looks older than that little one that you've just seen. Look, there, look, they're both out now. It is old, either older or balder. They look like they're the same age. But you'll have to help. Corky is the one not in the den entrance. I think that the patchy face looks like a panda bear. Yeah, that's Corky there, isn't that? I'm sure that's Corky who's standing up. So let's just see what plays out here. And there's the other one is definitely bigger. The other one's definitely bigger. Oh, this is too precious. This is too wonderful. Listen to the noises. It's Corky making the noise. Now, do we know who the hyena is there? Apparently the hyena sitting in the hole is Pretty. So all of our hyena experts are confirming these identifications. Now, I've got no idea, which one is Corky's? The little dark one. That one's much older, the one that's just come out. So Patchface the panda is Corky's, apparently. So Pretty must have had this one here, or perhaps just brought this one here recently. Oh wow, it's so special to have one of these here again. The noises are just too wonderful. Just gorgeous. Isn't that wonderful? No, Carla, in theory, they would not nurse from both mothers. Now, I mean, Jamie and her investigations of the North Clan of hyena turned over many of the things that we thought were true about hyenas. So, in theory, no, they wouldn't nurse from each other. In practice, do they? Well, let's have a look. Yeah, that one that's just come out is much bigger. And I'm going to say not quite as confident as the little panda face. Oh, this is beautiful. Isn't this magic? This is magic. Yes, Jim, it is common for hyena mums to share a den. It's very common, and often there is a sort of central clan den in a big clan, and they'll have, you know, a number of generations in the same termite mound. Hello, little one. Now, that little one, who apparently is not corgis just tried to suckle from her. You see how much more confident Corky's one is than Pretty's? Yeah, you can see that Pretty's one is a little nervous of Corky. And the wind continues to howl as we watch this wonderful scene unfolding. So I'm going to guess, because you haven't seen Pretty and her cub here before, which I don't think you have, I'm going to guess that she's brought this cub here recently from another den somewhere. I mean, maybe on Djuma, but quite likely on Biffle's Hook, which is not far from here. Oh, they are too sweet. Isn't this wonderful? And amazing how much hair that bigger one is missing from her face. Now Corky's out and the bigger one's looking a bit more confident. This is just too wonderful. Now, I don't remember where Pretty fits into the hierarchy of this clan, but for me it's very clear that she's subordinate to Corky, I think, and that's also evidenced by the confidence shown by the little one versus the slightly bigger one. Wowee, hey? It's been so long since we've seen magical sights like this. Now, apparently we're going to try and do an unscheduled broadcast, so let's try that. Let's see if we can maintain the action. I think I must shut up now, must I? Yes, I'm going to shut up for a second as they go inside. Absolutely typical. Hello everybody and welcome to this very special broadcast from the northern parts of the Sabi Sands in South Africa. That there is a hyena and her little cub. In fact, that isn't her cub. That one there that's just stuck its head out is the big hyena's cub that you can see, and the little one with the patch face that looks like a panda, well, that one's mother is lying just a little bit away from this termite mound den. My name is James Hendry. It's wonderful to have you here with us in the blustery western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. Ask us any questions you'd like to. We'd love to hear from you. And please excuse this poll. It is raining, and of course cameras and rain don't mix very well. Let's go back to these beautiful hyenas. Now, what is so interesting here is what we seem to have is a very obvious playing out of the dominance hierarchy going on. Now, hyenas live in a highly stratified society where there is a very strict hierarchy, especially amongst the females, and that cub there that you're looking at is the cub of the adult in the hole. She is subordinate to the one that has just stood up and arrived. Now, the one that's just stood up and arrived, her name is Corky, and the one in the hole is Pretty. And Pretty is subordinate to Corky, and if you watch the two cubs, you can see that Corky's cub, which is the smaller, patch-faced one, is much more confident than Pretty's. That's Pretty's one you're looking at there, and there is Corky's. And you can see she makes a squittering noise and then goes back into the hole. Deanna, these are neither cat nor dog. They are hyena. They live in their own family entirely. There are 5 members of the hyena family, if I'm not mistaken. Spotted hyenas, brown hyenas, aardvarks, striped hyenas. 1, 2, 3, 4. And did I say brown? Oh, listen. Isn't that wonderful? And they fall somewhere between the dogs and the cats, but more closely related to the mongoose. Now, I'm not sure what is going on here. I'm not sure why Corky's making that low growling noise. Mina, the survival rate for these cubs is not bad for predators, but you'll probably find it's still not much more than sort of 2 in 10 that make it all the way to adulthood and breeding. Maybe 3 in 10, won't be more than that. A lot of them die when they're very little. Sometimes there is siblicide, not nearly as frequent as we used to think, but there is siblicide. So if 2 hyenas are born in a litter, one sometimes kills the other, especially if they're born to dominant females. Not always, but it does happen. And interestingly, of course, they produce only 2 at a maximum in a litter. They only have 2 teats, unlike, of course, lions, which have 4, and leopards. So all the cats have got 4. And, of course, the dogs have many more. I'm afraid they got a fright from one of the flaps on our vehicle. It was a gust of wind took it. That's why they moved like that. So the fact that they have fewer teats and therefore give birth to fewer babies probably means, in fact I'm almost certain it means, that they have a slightly higher success rate than most of the other predators. But it's still not very high. That's Corky. She's going to sit down. And now what will probably happen is that the slightly less confident cub will come out and play a bit more, unless they decide that it's just too cold out here. All right, thank you very much for those of you who did just join us. If you would like to continue watching this action unfolding here, and of course we have a chap out in the Masai Mara following the Great Migration, and another colleague not too far from here with some elephants. You can go to YouTube, type in SafariLive, and you'll find the rest of the show and our twice daily shows. Until then, bye-bye. All right, everybody, I'm not going to go anywhere from here. We're going to stay with these hyenas. See what plays out while Stevovor shows you the sinking sun.
Well done. You've made it back just in time for a beautiful, beautiful sunset in the Mara. And below the sunset, there is a whole group of hyena going absolutely ballistic that we've been paying attention to. I don't know if you can hear them calling. I think there might be some clan warfare that's about to happen. We've seen hyena running a very long distance. And those animals are looking towards them. And we're going to quickly shoot down there and see if we can see what's got these hyenas in such a twist. We've seen them run very, very far. At least 6 of them have run all the way from that side, all the way to below the setting sun. So we're going to go. We thought we'd quickly show you that sunset. How amazing. But one of the bucket list things for me is to see a clan of hyena getting into some action with a group of lion or another group of hyena. That would be so awesome to see. And as we were watching them there with the binoculars, I could hear the whooping sounds. Those hyena were absolutely milking it with regards to speed, tails in the air. Well, who knows what's going on. It is a beautiful sunset, folks. It gets better and better every time, and it's always quite unique out here. We're in a very different place to where I've ever been before. We're normally much further that way, so we're quite close to, I think, a sort of a lodge kind of place in the Mara called Mara Sun. That's just around the corner, where the hyenas were absolutely legging it towards there. But they covered from that distance to there about 500 meters in a very short period of time. But while we see if we can catch up with these very fast moving animals, let's go back to Taylor and her elephant.
Rest of the afternoon was with this fantastic herd of ellies who are just edging closer and closer to us, and are so relaxed and so calm. They don't mind us at all, not even that little baby who's just playing with a bit of monkey orange at the moment. Yes, it's very prickly, be careful, you don't hurt your little trunk. Oh, that is so precious. I really think everybody needs to add this to their bucket list. You know what? Lions are really epic. Leopards are just so beautiful. Cheetah, my goodness, if you get to see them running at full tilt, it's exceptional. But I cannot tell you how overwhelming an elephant sighting is. And for those of you that trust me and that believe me, I'm pretty sure most guides will tell you just how incredible elephant sightings can be. Now, they're not always all nice, and not all the elephants in Africa are relaxed like the ones here. Like I said, they're just exposed to vehicles constantly, and they've learned to tolerate us, because I think that's what's happened. They haven't got used to us, they've just got used to us being annoying, and they've kind of got over it. Some days they don't like it when we're around, and the fact that it's also so windy is really quite cool. Watching this elephant was looking at the lights, so I'm just going to dim it down just a little bit. Hello. A young boy. He's feeding maybe 3 meters from the car. He's so close. But not bothered whatsoever, which is truly spectacular. And I always say that elephants in the Mara, they just ignored you. Pizza. I suppose that's how you say it. And now most elephants you'll see with a little bit of this white stuff in the side of their eye, and I suppose it helps with them keeping the eye. And I suppose good nick. I've heard some people say it's good, and sometimes it can have a bit of an antibiotic and thing is in it. And remember, with these elephants feeding around here, all the dust and stuff that gets in their eye, I think they need a bit of extra protection. Although they look at those long lashes, thick, like any model would dream of. Just actually any girl would dream of having eyelashes like that. I'm always envious of my younger brother. He's got the thickest and darkest lashes I've ever seen on a boy, and he's also got bright blue eyes, which is so annoying, so jealous, but whatever. I wonder if my brother's at home watching the show. I don't think so. He's probably working. He's a workaholic. He doesn't stop grafting. I suppose that kind of runs in the family though. This is just amazing, just how peaceful they're being quiet. And even though they're breaking branches and things like that, the way that they sort of handle them, or most of them, they're so delicate. And I think elephants can or have been portrayed as these big boisterous animals that, you know, push things around and are destructive, but they're really so much more than that. Right. Off you go back to the northwest where James is, and he's also staying put at the hyena den.
Well, we're sitting here at the hyena den, and interestingly, what's happened is that Pretty's moved away, and there is Corky giving her baby a little bit of a hug while she suckles. Or he suckles. I thought briefly that the extended bit between the cub's back legs looked like it made it a male. It's pinched at the end, and perhaps the other one is a female. I thought maybe that was the case, but I could be entirely wrong. It's a wild guess based on very little evidence at this stage. And for those of you who don't know, of course, perhaps you are a new viewer and we haven't been watching hyenas in this area for very long, although Jamie has talked extensively of the North Clan. Hyenas, of course, display almost hermaphroditic genitalia. That is not the case. They are not hermaphrodites, but the females have got an extendable pseudo-penis or clitoris, basically, enlarged clitoris that looks like a penis. And so it's quite difficult to tell the difference between the two, but the male's actual penis, which is real, is pinched towards the end, and the female's tends to be just sort of straight. And I thought I saw that that one was pinched on that little one. Look how she's hugging it. I think it must be quite painful for a hyena mother, of course, because, like I say, these little cubs are born with teeth. So I think they have to be pretty tough. Well, we know they're very tough, don't we? Yes, Debbie, and no. It is nice for the other cub to have a companion now, provided, of course, that its food isn't monopolized. Now, while they're both just suckling, that's not going to be the case. But as soon as meat comes into the offing, you know, if one of them does bring meat back to this den, then the more dominant cub will monopolize those feeding opportunities. So for now, yes, it is nice for them to play together. I think it's healthy for them in the same way that it's healthy for leopards to have cub mates, or litter mates, because they can play with each other, and they probably do a bit more playing. They probably develop slightly faster, get slightly greater muscle definition more quickly and that sort of thing. But it can be a disadvantage later on once they have to scrap over meat, because they'll catch up in size fairly soon. In a couple of weeks you'll hardly notice the difference between the two size-wise, and then the more dominant one will monopolize any feeding opportunities that aren't to do with nursing. I'd be fascinated to know where Pretty's come from. Where on earth has she been keeping this cub? Also very well fed, in very good condition. She's got the typical hyena scars on her face, but she's got good sort of body, I wanted to say body fat. I have no idea what her body fat is, but she's looking good. She's got lots of muscle on her, and there's no problem with her ribs showing or anything like that. Maybe she's gone or going to go off towards Hosanna and see if she can pick up a bit of his food. He is directly, unfortunately for him, sort of downwind of where they are. Upwind of where they are, sorry. So, you know, if they walk straight into the wind, basically they'll find him. And I suspect, well, I wonder, it's probably about 1.5 kilometres as the crow flies. I wonder if they can smell that food. It's just almost impossible to think that they could smell something that far away. All right, I'm going to sit here for just a little bit longer. We're not going to be here after it's dark, and then we'll head back towards Hosanna and see what he has to show us.
Well, that's awesome, though, news that there's another hyena cub. I didn't even know, which is so exciting, even though I believe it's a little bit older than Corky's little one. And we're still just spending a bit of time with this young Ellie bull, again, who's so close to the car, but he's very, very happy feeding at the moment. Nibbling away, well, actually not nibbling. What he's doing is he's chewing. Hello, Billy, who's only 6 years old. I love your question. Thank you very much for that. You've asked, what is the naughtiest thing I've ever seen an elephant do? Do you know what? Daryl. You remember I was telling you a little bit about Daryl, my favorite elephant ever? He's a very naughty elephant. Once he gave Scott, do you remember Scott, a little bit of trouble. He came up and he was very naughty around the car. I didn't see that though, but I watched the video. And then Daryl would come up to all the guests in camp and he'd try and scare everybody. But like I said, he's a big baby. So you just need to show him that you're a bit more dominant than him, and then he normally leaves you alone. Some other naughty things. Oh, Billy, we had such a cool sighting about 3 or 4 days ago. This young elephant bull came right up to the car and he was trying to touch the car. Now, you know how important it is that we don't let the wild animals touch the car. and he was trying to. So I was telling him no, but I wasn't shouting at him because he wasn't being ugly. He was just being naughty. He was being very curious. So I said, no, elephant, you can't touch the car. And then he turned around at a great speed, and his tail actually hit the front bull bar, the front bar of the car, and he gave himself such a big fright, he thought that I'd done it. So he turned around and he was cross with us, and then he settled down again. But it was really just so funny to have him around the car. And then the other day as well, I've had some funny sightings recently. There was a big elephant bull, and I don't know if you remember, a little while ago there was an elephant that died on Juma, and we were watching them, and they were looking around all the bones at where the carcass was, and this elephant picked up a bone and he tried to throw it at us. And then he picked up another one and he tried to throw that one at us. So that was a little bit rude. But Daryl has come and caused all sorts of problems in camp. He broke Kirsten's window because he got too excited, and he didn't do it on purpose. He probably just touched the window, the glass, with his tusk, and it all shattered. So he's quite comical. What's wrong, boy? Maybe he's heard of Daryl, and he knows how naughty he is. That's lovely. Amazing how the colour of his skin matches all the branches, although he's a little bit darker than normal because they got wet today. Are you going to climb up that false marula? What are you doing? You're just having a rest. That's like if you were to lean up against the wall. Oh, all my little friends are back on board. I'm so happy. Hello, Aiden, who's only 7 years old. Now, you've asked, what did you ask? If elephants like peanuts. Aiden, if I had a macadamia nut, I still wouldn't feed this elephant because they're not supposed to eat peanuts. I think, though, if an elephant got stuck in a peanut... well, I suppose peanuts grow on trees. Yeah, they do grow on trees. Macadamias grow on trees. Cashews also grow on trees. I've never seen an actual peanut tree, to be honest. But anyways, if they were to get into a nut farm, I think that they'd have the best time of their life. So I'm sure they'd like it, but unfortunately there's no real natural peanut plants out here for them to eat. But they eat everything. I mean, I've seen some elephants that have, you know, kind of been in captivity, which I don't necessarily agree about, and they eat pineapples and watermelons and all sorts of things. I think they'll eat all sorts of fruit. I remember when I was working in the on the southeast coast of South Africa, and on a reserve, and there used to be an old guava plantation, and every now and then you'd see the odd guava tree starting to grow, but the elephants used to take care of them. They absolutely loved eating all that fruit, but soon there were none left because they loved them so much. I like that this elephant is standing over this tree that probably another elephant had pushed over a couple of years ago. But they're very much enjoying eating all the bark at the moment. They love the bark from the bush willow trees too. It's sort of the tree that takes a serious hammering in the dry season. From mainly the variable bush willows, also the large fruited bush willows they like to eat. What branch are you trying to get? Let's see what he's going to do, what piece he's going to grab next. Oh, he wants that whole thing. Well, I hope he doesn't throw that at us. Maybe he'll show us how he can javelin. Look at that. Just wanted a little piece. No, you didn't win there. You got to hold on a bit tighter, boy. He's trying to, but it's getting caught on all the other branches. Let's see if he gets a nice hold on it. Look how frustrated he's getting because he can't get that piece he wants. No, he's just going to pull it. I'll show you, tree, how strong I am. You won't be able to mess with me. No, he's not shaking his head at us. He's shaking his head out of frustration because he couldn't get the branch to go into his mouth like he wanted it. See, look how he's chomping down on it now. Maybe something pricked him in the mouth. Little pieces. It's amazing how they get over all these obstacles. And these elephants have now been in this area for, I don't even know how long we've been sitting here for, but they've barely moved, only a couple of feet. Oh, this is very cool. Well, I think we might do a little bit of repositioning to try and get a better view of these elephants, and then we go search for something else. But off we go back to James, who's looking at one of the hyena cubs again.
Yes, this is going to be our final scene here at the hyena den, as the sight of Corky and her little baby fills us with joy. Pretty has departed. Her baby is still inside and interestingly has not made any kind of emergence, while only Corky has been, well, corking up the den. Come on, Corks, show us why you have your name. There you are. That's it. That's why she's called Corky, everybody. See? She's corking the den. It's all pretty, not sitting like that. There we go. True to form. Well done. Pretty wasn't sitting like that. It's probably entirely coincidence, but still quite interesting nevertheless. Unfortunately, we cannot get around the other side, and so we can't watch the little one having a suckle at this stage. I think Corky's in a perfect position. She's quite nicely sheltered from this beastly wind. Karen, I'm afraid I really cannot answer that question. You say how many cubs has Corky had in the past? Well, we saw her have 2 cubs the last time we saw her with cubs, which must have been, gee, it must have been nigh on 2.5 years ago now, I reckon, if not more. So those 2 and this one are the only ones that I know of. Could there have been others in between? Unlikely. It's unlikely that there are any survivors in between then and now. So I'm going to say at least 3. But whether or not she had some before that, I'm not sure. It's quite likely she's not the youngest hyena in the world. She's not very old either. Let's have a guess at between 4 and 5, maybe? I'm more than happy to entertain guesses from anyone else who'd like to tell us. I mean, some of you may have met her before we did 3 and a bit years ago. Just trying to think, that first... Yeah, it was 3 years ago, actually. Then we did that first Big Cat Week show, TV show, or the first one I was involved in, and we came down to the hyena den every morning, and I think she had youngsters then. Oh, so that was 3 years ago. So it's possible that she's had and lost cubs between then and now, but I think it's unlikely. You know, normally you'd expect them to have a cub every 2 and a bit years. But like I say, we haven't spent nearly enough time around them over the last little while to say with any certainty exactly what's going on with this clan. Interestingly, we know much more about the Mara North, or the North clan of hyena and the Mara, than we do the Djuma clan at the moment. Eat a pizza. There is another entrance to this termite mound, but it doesn't probably doesn't go through to where that little cub is lying. So there is an entrance the other side. It doesn't necessarily go through to the same chamber, though. It might, but it might not. There's one there that almost certainly doesn't go through to the same chamber that the baby's in now. We have seen youngsters in that chamber before. It looks like it may have collapsed, actually. No, it's still open. But they don't go through to some sort of central chamber where, you know, the hyenas sit next to the fireplace and make themselves nice warm cups of coffee on chilly evenings like this. Nice warm cup of coffee would go down a treat, I must say, at this stage. All right, it's getting a little bit dark now. We're going to head back towards Hothana while Corky feeds her baby.
Right, we've repositioned, and now all the elephants have come out of the bushes and are in the open, which is quite cool to see. And I didn't realize how many elephants are actually here. There must be about 50 or 60 Ellies. There's one just communicating now. They're all doing that soft rumbling. Somebody was giving instructions on what they're going to be doing next. Oh, I think we might have an Ellie bullfight. Just listening, we've got elephants all around us now, which is pretty epic. Literally 360 degrees. No, I lie. They're not right in front of me, but everywhere else, except 12 o'clock, are elephants. Hello, Tesla, my favorite little friend in the whole wide world. I've also put my hood on now because it was cold, but I'll take it off for you. Now, you've asked how long do the elephants feed their babies milk for? Should we ask some of them? There's some that are right here. Look how close they are. Also, just walking behind us. So, ooh, careful elephants. Sorry, they're getting a fright because, well, we've got some of the covers down because it was raining earlier and they were flapping. I'm just watching. Sorry, hang on, Tesla. I'm going to answer your question now. There's this, David, you're going to get a surprise in about 20 seconds. There's going to be an elephant that's going to pop up just right here. Not this one. Another one. Look at this. Hi, girls. Hello, lovely ladies. Oh my goodness, there's so many coming around now. Hi, elephants. Thank you so much for walking past us so nicely. Tesla, I wish you were on the car with me right now. So, they suckle their calves for quite a long time. So, normally elephants will have a calf every 3 to 5 years or so. It depends on a couple of things. So, normally for about 3.5 up to 4 years, they'll suckle their calves. But sometimes you get a really cheeky elephant, not like this one. You know, that's maybe there's a new baby around now, so mom's still got milk, and then the older calf will try and get in there and suckle, and then that's when you hear them going and throwing a big tantrum because they get cross because they're not allowed to suckle anymore. That was so cool. The elephants are so close. Hello, little one. They're just coming from everywhere. See, they're walking towards Vuyatela Lodge now. Now, Tesla, you said that your favorite moment of me was when I fell in the mud because I laughed and I didn't cry. I think I laughed so hard I cried though, but they were good. They were tears of joy though. They weren't sad tears. But I'm glad that you enjoyed that, Tesla. It was very funny. You must ask Jamie how funny it was. She couldn't even breathe. I thought we were going to have to do CPR on her. Her and Manu were laughing so hard they couldn't even get any words out. But that was a very funny moment. Something that you just cannot plan. I was really hoping that I was going to show off my safari parkour skills, and then, well, that was an absolute fail. Did that elephant walk all that way to break a branch and then to throw half of it on the floor and then put a small amount in its mouth? What a waste. That's so funny. You could probably see the elephants on the dam cam too, although it might be getting a little bit dark now. Does the infrared kick in straight away?
Yeah, they'll see it.
They'll see it. Oh, cool. Apparently you can see them on the dam cam, which is quite nice. For those of you that have no idea what the dam cam is, how epic is this? There's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, barring when the gremlins get it, the technical difficulties that occasionally come through. But there's actually a camera, and that moves around. People apply to be a zoomie, and they can control the camera, and you can look at things all night long. So last night they were mating leopards on the dam cam. Now we've got elephants. I mean, all the animals come to drink from that freshwater pan. So even when you can't watch Safari Live when it's live, it'll give you something quite fun to do, to try and have a look and see if you can and find any animals. And I am very sad to hear about Scoobit. That was very, very devastating. I wonder what happened to it. I don't know what James said he thought had happened, but it has got very cold very quickly. So I don't know if it was that, or maybe got... Oh no, something apparently squashed it. With all the elephants and all the big herds of buffalo coming through, I mean, It is possible, and they wouldn't have done it on purpose. They just wouldn't have even known that little Scoobit was there. Very, very sad. I'm sure the blacksmith lapwings must be also sad too. Sure, Lindsay, sure, taking it to a serious level. What is the most important thing that I've learned while being on SafariLive? I've definitely learned patience. I mean, as a guide, you learn about patience, but whether you practice it, is a completely different story. Often you can't when you're guiding guests because you do have a kind of a checklist. People want to see a whole lot of animals, and if they're not staying here for 4 or 5 nights and only here for 2 nights, then you're kind of restricted. And you can't sit with elephants for 3 whole game drives. You've got to try and find lions and other things. So patience is a good one. I don't know, and I think I've just learned to laugh at myself a whole lot more than I normally used to. I mean, I've always laughed at myself, but I think the fact that it's live and that there's quite a few people watching it, I've just learned to not take life so seriously. For me, which is a really important thing, just to be easygoing. Whatever happens, happens. Don't need to be upset about it. There's nothing you can do. I don't know what I've learned. I've learned so many different life goals, which is what's really, really, really amazing. Hello, girl. You've got a very square head. Look how that's how you can tell that's a cow. Not all of them have a very sharp head like that, though. Shh, Hardy does. We're trying to have a nice peaceful moment with the elephants. Making an absolute racket. Saber-toothed pigeons. Go away. They can't fly at the moment. The wind is blowing them. That's the direction they've just come from. But the wind is now taking them back that way. Best they go west. They might not even have a choice. Are they going to go to the pan and have a drink? I mean, that would be amazing if they do that. Little midnight sip of water. Should we go and join them for a sundowner? Let's go and join the elephants for a sundowner. Okay. I think what I might try and do is I might go off the road just a little bit and around, because I don't want to get stuck behind the elephants. I also, well, if they even go to the pan, they now look like they're turning down and off to the right. I mean, we're barely going to, we'll just give them a bit of a wider berth. Just go like this. Some of them are going there. Run, Egyptian geese, run! I think that's an Egyptian geese. Goose, not plural. Okay, I'm just going to try. I just basically want to get to the other side of the dam cam without disturbing the elephants, but also so that we can get a good view. We'll be there in 2 seconds. This is where the sighting of the Nkuhumas happened, when they killed the buffalo, the baby buffalo, and the little ones learned how to hunt buffalo. Well, right here, the bones were just there too. I don't know if you can ever see it on the dam cam. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, it was Halloween. Yeah, we were talking about it from that sighting from 2 years, almost 2 years ago. No. Yeah, almost 2 years ago. And there we go, everybody. How the safari has paid off this afternoon has been spectacular. Choosing to stick with the elephants. The hardy-dars are coming back around for a second time to see if they can beat the winds. I think they're just going to get blown back again. It's like they hit a wall and they can't go anymore. Look, I don't think you'll be able to see it. I'm just watching them. They get so far and then the wind swirls and takes them back to the west. Anyways, hopefully the whole herd of elephants comes and joins. This is only about a third of the ellies now. The rest are still feeding up and in the thicket. But it would be amazing. It's kind of like when you have all the buffalo that come through and they all try and drink water at the same time. It's virtually impossible. And I'm not sure if you can hear the slurping sounds. That's the only time I will accept any kind of slurping is from an elephant. And as the water splashes back down, it's lovely. Kirsten says you can all hear the slurping. So let's listen to the slurping. Isn't this beautiful? I've got goosebumps, but I don't know if it's because I'm cold or if because it's such an awesome sighting. A bit of both. I'm going to go with a bit of both. Look at all the little ones climbing in between their mother's legs now. That's not really an easy spot for those little ones to drink from because those logs are quite big. I think it takes a fair amount of balance. Yeah, it is. I couldn't have chosen a better... Ooh. I could not have chosen a better way to spend my afternoon. Good company and Eddie's. Was a teenager there that was causing a bit of trouble, but very quickly got reprimanded by one of the older cows, not standing for any of that nonsense. This is literally everything that I look for in an elephant sighting. You know, to spend some quality time while they feed, and then to have them come down and drink. You know, they're not going to go for a swim on a cold night like tonight. Well, you never know. There's always one. There's always that one in the friend group. Maybe someone decides to take a plunge. But to watch an entire sighting like this unfold is so special, and I think this is where SafariLive is just incredible, because like I was saying, you know, when you do come on a safari, unless you go to one place for 4 or 5 nights at least, you don't really get the opportunity to spend so many hours with the animals, because you want to see everything. If we go for a 2-night safari, I can promise you you'll maybe sit with a herd of elephants for 30 minutes, and you'll probably see them a couple of times, but you won't be spending that long of a period with them every single sighting, unless I take you on safari. Then you're forced. You have no choice. Just because it's so magical and so therapeutic. Now there's another group of Ellies coming on through. Maybe another 10 more that'll try and squeeze on in. And see how the rest of the herd takes to that, because there's not much space around here, unless they come right in front of where the car is. But they don't seem to be interested in drinking from the side. And it's not because we're here, because the elephants arrived at the pan first. They chose their spot. I came in second. Just making sure. I also just watched an elephant in the distance. I don't think you'll see it. It's fighting with the light. Can you see that one there? It doesn't like that bright light. It just mock charged. That was so great. And in the process it was probably being blinded by the light. Now that light is there to just illuminate what was Vuyatela Dam, but unfortunately has dried up now. And it's very unimpressed with that spotlight. Yes, James Richard. This drive couldn't have gone any better. I mean, if I'd had the Nkuhumas hunting a buffalo, or actually just looking at the Nkuhumas, just watching them, I would have been, you know, overwhelmed with happiness. But this is pretty epic. For me, for those of you that have got to know me quite well, if I could sit with elephants every single day and have a sighting like we've had this afternoon, I'd be a very, very happy girl. This is very cool. I love how they're all just huddling up and all wanting to drink from the same spot. Now, normally you see that when there's a pipe that's pumping fresh water, but that's not on that end, I don't think. I think it's more to the right. And then when the fresh water is being pumped into the pan, then they'll all gather, because, I mean, elephants are super clever. They want the freshest water. They're quite fussy about the water that they drink. You often see them in, you know, in dams that they're not particularly fond of, how they stick their trunks and swish the water around to get rid of some of the scum before they have a sip. And now they're done. Just like that. Sorry, my voice is now also starting to go away, which is wonderful. Luckily it's my last driver, because tomorrow morning I don't think I'm going to have I don't think I'm going to have a voice. Kirsten is wanting to know if I'm crying. Do you want to see my eyes? No tears yet. I said to Kirsten I was going to take my eye drops and then fill my eyes with eye drops. I don't think that'll be necessary though. I think that my eyes will do that all by themselves. And just a few Ellies. Just having a last drink. I don't know where the rest of the herd has gone. They must have split off. They must have gone elsewhere. Perhaps it wasn't just one group. Maybe it was two herds that were just feeding in the same area, which is typically what we see. But I think we're going to say goodbye to the elephants now. I'm going to get the spotlight out and see what else we can find. James has also moved off from the hyena den, and he's back with his friend Hosanna.
Yes, here I am with my friend Hosanna. Hosanna had a brief altercation with a hyena. It lasted about 3.5 seconds, and the hyena moved off when Hosanna bared his canines. So it was according to Zen, who I'm not sure if he's being serious or not, but his eyes are good enough for me to believe him. He says his daughter was intima. It was definitely smaller than. Anyway, the hyena moved off. Oh, apparently my signal's not good. Let's go across to Steve in the Mara. I'll try and sort that problem out in the next little while.
Welcome back. Terribly sorry we haven't been able to communicate with any of you. We've found ourselves in a bit of a signal shadow underneath the mountain there, but what was so awesome to see was those 4 or 6 hyena that we had running in from a distance. They charged in and chased off another 4. Those are the 4 that I then saw running when we were communicating. So we were tearing down the mountain or down the hill, and we found a young wildebeest carcass. And the other group of hyena that ran away the first time, they came back with reinforcements. And the 6 that came initially, well, they left quick smart. Eventually there were 20 hyena from the other clan there, fighting over what was left of a young wildebeest. So that was epic, but sadly, we weren't able to show you. So really sorry about that, folks, but all I know is that it wasn't the hyena battle I thought it would be. The other 6 saw the others coming and they just left. There was no fight, it was just, we're out of here. So it might be that they were quite close to some boundary, or maybe within the other territory. But maybe they knew reinforcements were on the way. You heard the woo, woo, and then the masses started coming, and even as we were leaving, more were arriving. So quite something to behold. But there was nothing much left of the wildebeest. But the hyena moved back off again, and sadly we weren't able to really see too much at the end. But very nice to see nonetheless. So we're slowly making our way back. You can see the spotlights out. We had a brief glimpse of a jackal a moment ago, but he's scurried away. What could we find along the way? We are very far south, so we still got quite a journey ahead of us. So there could be a number of lion prides to be found along the way. Who knows? Maybe even a leopard. How cool would that be? Scanning, scanning, scanning. It is quite amazing how in some parts of the Mara Triangle at the moment it is absolutely full with game. In other areas there's hardly any. Sorry Arch, my earpiece fell out there. Okay, so it seems like James has sorted out his signal. Let's go back over to him.
Yes, we have sorted out the signal. The signal was bad, not because of any signal problems, but because we'd knocked the aerial down and not seen it because of the rain flap behind. That is entirely normal. That happens from time to time. Now, Hosanna is sitting there, and I just wanted to comment on Steve's last comment, and that was that Steve commented, it is amazing how many animals there are in some places in the Mara, and then others nothing. But always in the Mara there is a view of something unbelievable. Hosanna, you can see, does not appear to be wanting to go or do anything in the near future. It's now got pretty dark. Shall we swap to infrared? Quick. There we are. We're now in infragreen. There we are. I'm very glad it's black and white your side. I thought maybe we had to warn you with this camera, but apparently the final control is so deeply competent that we just had to flick across, and there it was. Oh, he's having a little dream about climbing or killing, playing. He and his father are very good sleepers, highly competent at sleeping. They are able to sleep for many hours at a time without moving much, other than to roll over once or twice. Now we're very close to him, probably only about 3 meters away. He hasn't moved at all as we drove in here. I thought maybe we were going to give him a bit of a fright as we came in, but no. He's so used to us. I don't know why I keep saying that as though it's sort of a surprise. But it was a slight surprise. He didn't move at all. That's his foot. Well done, Senzo. You found his foot. Very good. I kind of hoped he'd have gone back up the tree, but I suppose he's so full at the moment. Right, I've now been instructed by the red-headed harpy in the final control that I need to remind you of something. Are you ready? You've got your notebooks out, your diaries, digital or otherwise. I'm going to give you a few seconds to just get yourselves ready. Don't worry, it's not some kind of further announcements of resignations or disappearances. It's nothing like that, but have your pen out. Okay, the announcement is as follows. It's the time change announcement. On Monday, the Sunrise Safari will shift to 5 o'clock a.m. till 8 o'clock a.m., that is. So 5 to 8, so it's 1 hour or half an hour earlier than before. And then the sunset safari is going to shift half an hour later. So that's going to be from 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 o'clock in the evening. So our final summer time change is taking place on Monday. So it's going to be Sunday evening for those of you in the States. We'll be half an hour earlier, so it's going to make your viewing that much easier, I think. So 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock Central African time, which of course will be 6 to 9 East African time. And then we will be half an hour later in the afternoons, and that is going to be 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock Central African time. That's from Monday, the 15th of October. Thank you. That is my announcement. We may now go back to the leopard. Thank you. Kirsten says I did a good job. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if that's going to affect Safari Lives next week. The 20th episode, we've got the 19th episode coming up tomorrow. That will be the same time, 4 to 6 Central African time. We may decide to shifty Safari Lives the next week as well, but we'll keep you updated with that. Oh, no, we won't. And I'll tell you why we won't sometime during the week. Oh, I can tell you now, and that's of course because we're starting our SABC productions. SABC, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, the third channel that they have, which is the English language channel, is going to be broadcasting Safari Live between the hours of 6:30 and 7:30 tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week on Sunday. And so Safari Lives will remain in the same place, I think. So that's our second TV show, actually. Isn't that nice? South African TV, taking South African bush to South Africans, which I think is going to be great. It will mean the likes of Brent Leo Smith is unable to walk around in Hoedspruit safely without being mobbed by adoring hordes of fans at the Pick and Pay as he goes to buy himself a chocolate or an ice cream. Jamie Patterson will no longer be able to frequent the beauty parlours of Hoedspruit. I'm joking. A, there aren't any beauty parlours in Hoedspruit, and B, Jamie Patterson wouldn't be caught dead in one. In fact, I'm just laughing at the image of Jamie Patterson having some sort of pedicure or manicure with those bits of foil on her hair. I'm sure she'd find that as absurd as I do. As Kirsten says, Jamie and Brent will not be able to go for a romantic dinner to the Spur Steak Ranch together in Hoedspruit after our first SABC show. This is all entirely facetious. They'll be able to do all of those things, should they want to. Since of all the bits of Hosana to zoom into, I really think that is the most ridiculous bit of Hosana to zoom into. In fact, I'm so appalled that I think we'll go across to Taylor.
Classic Sensor. It was like that time when when Manu zoomed in on the gerbils, the mating gerbils. That the super zoom. I couldn't believe that. And then just laughed and left me awkwardly. I think, David, come on now, be honest. Do you like putting the guides in awkward positions? Sure. He says sure, definitely. It's like he actually goes to sleep and before he goes to bed he thinks on how can I put them in an awkward position? Yeah, it's fun though. It's hilarious. I mean, sometimes you just can't explain things. It just happens and we just capture it and you kind of just got to go with it. And sometimes it's best not to get into serious detail. Yeah, that's another one of my, another moment that a lot of people enjoy. And Kirsten just reminded me. We were speaking about it the other day. Remember when we were doing school drives and I was following Hosana and Shongile around and these kids were like between 4 and 6 years old. The next minute Hosana at like 8 months old leapt right onto Shongile and started like trying to mate with her. He had no idea what he's doing though. And then the kids, oh, what's happening? And I was just, they're wrestling. I mean, what else do you say? And then there was a question the other day, what? How? And I didn't answer it because I was terrified. I was like, I don't know how to explain this. I was like, that's your teacher's job. But the question from the school was like 2 days ago, how do elephants mate? Now, if any of you could please share the clip of the elephant bull that was trying to mate with a female in Coral. I've also got a dam cam there. Please share that and watch it. It is so traumatic. There's no ways I was going into detail to 8-year-olds about what happened. I was like, no, I'll just give that one a skip because it's not particularly nice. I don't think he was successful in mating though. He tried his best, but no, couldn't make it work. But yeah, so sometimes we get like really awkward questions, and sometimes I just don't know how to answer them, so I have to ignore them. So I'm really sorry if I've ignored your awkward question. But if you were on a safari with me, I'd totally answer it. But like, you know, sometimes, oh goodness, yeah, we get some interesting questions that come through. What did Louise ask James today? Oh, it was funny. It was lots of cackling in camp. Oh, Paula, now I've had some amazing, yeah, Lou asked James, I'll get back to your question, sorry Paula. Lou asked James today, James, why is there sand in Africa? Because that's a question we get often and I cannot understand it. I'm like, you get sand everywhere. Erosion also. But anyways, why is there sand in Africa? Is it only allowed to be in one place? Can the deserts only have sand? So James, I don't know what James said. I actually can't remember, but he did let out a bellowing call. He was unimpressed by what Louise had to say. Anyways, sorry, I can hear a noise, but I thought it was a flat tire. It's not a flat tire, so it's too soon to panic. Paula, getting back to your question, which I can't remember, Kirsten, you'll have to tell me again. Classic goldfish memory. It's a nightmare. Oh, favorite experience on foot. I did remember. I just wanted to hear Kirsten whispering into my ear. Anyways, I've had so many incredible encounters. I've been really lucky. The elephant sighting that Darby and I had yesterday afternoon? 2 days ago. But an hour and a half with elephants on foot, and my favorite part of that was, and I'll go on about it, is how everyone was laughing at me. Ha, you're doing a bushwalk in the heat. Ha ha, it's so hot. And I was like, ha ha, joke's on you. I walked 200 meters from camp and sat in the shade for an hour and a half. It was like easiest bushwalk ever. It was so great. It's not always that we get to do that. So that was pretty amazing to be able to do that. I think actually that day I even reminisced about some of the sightings I've had with Rexon on foot, and with elephants coming right up to a termite mound on 2 different occasions, and finding Hosanna on foot eating something. He was eating a kill. Well, it was a carcass. He was feasting on a carcass. It was down below in a drainage line, and we were so close. Darby, was that you or Craig? It wasn't you, it was Craig then. And yeah, that was pretty spectacular. Man, you know what I was thinking about this morning? I've had the best woodpecker sightings in my entire life on foot. That doesn't make sense. That makes no sense at all. Cannot get them to sit in a tree when I'm in the car and miles away, because I know we can zoom in, but I can stand and watch a woodpecker pick grubs out of a tree that an elephant has pushed over like 10 meters away. I mean, it's bizarre. So I've seen some cool things. Even just having the sightings of the Nkuhumas on foot was amazing, because they just, from when I first got here to how they behaved to us on foot towards the end, was just amazing how they just became so relaxed with us. So that's very special. I mean, is there anything in particular that you can all remember? I've been lucky. I've been so spoiled. But nature is kind to me in a different way that it is kind to other guides. Other guides, I always say this, other guides see lions killing things, leopards catching that, cheetah chasing after topi and catching them. I mean, Scott had just the most unbelievable sightings with cheetah. I don't get those things, but it really doesn't bother me. Not worried at all. I like the small things. I like the unusual things. I love it when a spider hunting wasp drags a baboon spider across the road, or a mongoose plays dead and gerbils mate and do all sorts of other things afterwards. I really, really cannot tell you how much I appreciate those sightings the most. Seeing a frog on game drive, that's pretty spectacular as well. I really enjoy seeing all the amphibians. I mean, I think it was Craig's interview drive a while ago, well, obviously before he started working here, we'd had a downpour and all the African bullfrogs came out. Who remembers that? And they were leaping and bounding and chasing one another. Darby, what is that in the tree? That was so incredible. It's far away. We're going to try and have a look. There is a reflection in the tree. Is it a bush baby? I think it's a bush baby. Okay, now that we've seen it, let's try and get a little bit closer. Hopefully it doesn't jump, or if it's a genet, hopefully it doesn't run down the tree. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my spotlight off it and pretend like we're not shining on it, because my lights in front are actually bright enough to see that tapetum flash, the reflection on the eyes there. Let's try this again. It's still very far away. Oh no, now there's a branch, but I think I'm going to give you a bit of extra light there. It's a nocturnal critter, whatever it is. Yeah, I think it is a bush baby. I can see little ears. Or is it a genet? It's a genet. It's 100% a genet. Yeah, very cool. So there we go. A nocturnal critter just sitting up in the tree there. Very, very far away. Most likely a large spotted genet. Let me see if I can go a little bit closer. I'm going to go here, and then we'll have another look. It's not great because there's branches and things. I mean, even just moving 2 or 3 meters forward, you saw how it improves it immensely. There we go, you got it. That's fantastic. A critter that we don't get to see very often, and kind of unmistakable now that we've got a better view of it. You can see those ears, and of course a long tail with the black and white bands on it. Very cool, just perched up in the tree. I'm very sorry, Janet, I don't think you're going to be see much. I don't think it's Janet Jackson. It's actually quite far away from where Janet Jackson lives. So she'll be a bit further south. Right, back onto the road we go. I just pulled off the road a car's length just to have a decent look. That was nice. I didn't think I was going to see any nocturnal creature. Oh, wait, we could get... Hang on, there's a road here. Wait, we might get even closer. Oh no, I think it's run. Let me just check. It was in that tree over there. I didn't realize that this road curved and split like this. I don't think Janet would allow... Oh, no, there it is. No ways. No ways. You got it, hey, Darby? Oh, what happened to my spotlight? There we go. I'm going to give it extra light. No. That's awesome. What an epic going away present. It's really not very often that they sit still like that. Maybe it's the Janet that comes and visits us in Camp Genevieve. Although no, because Genevieve has got some serious notches in her ear. That make her very, very easy to spot. Now she doesn't, well, I don't even know if it's a girl. They don't mind the spotlight too much. They're alright, and we are very far away still. At least we've got a decent view. I wonder which tree it's been living in. Maybe there's a cavity deeper down into the trunk. And it's pretty incredible how Janets can squeeze themselves into the smallest of tree cavities. Maxie, you're commenting on the Janet's tail. Yeah, they've got exceptionally long tails. Their tail's longer than their body, which is quite cool. And that's important, I think, when you are predominantly in the tree. Oh, I've never seen a Janet yawn before, so that's a first for me. And that helps with balance, especially when they're climbing up and down all the time. I can't believe it's not perturbed by us whatsoever. Maybe it's just too frozen that it hasn't really got anywhere else to go. Well, they'll catch all sorts of insects at this time of the year. I think they're hoping get some big bugs hopefully tonight, or it might just stay up there and keep nice and warm. Right, off you go, back to James for one last segment.
Yes, one last segment. I'm not going to talk much about this cat because this cat is doing not very much, and I've spoken a lot about this cat over the last little while. So I think I'll probably just talk about Taylor for a little while. I think Taylor has been a true breath of fresh air through this place, certainly on screen, and she's been amusing in a very different way, in her own unique way. And I think certainly for me, you know, I watch quite a lot of the drives. I'm not sure that there's another presenter who manages to generate the amount of conversation over absolutely nothing that she does. And that is a tremendous skill, and it's a skill that very few actually develop. And hers has been unparalleled, I think, her ability to generate conversations from almost no content whatsoever. So she's going to be missed very much indeed at Wild Earth. And, well, here's to you, Taylor. We'll have a proper apple juice with you a little bit later, but here's a public here's to you, and thank you for all that you've done on screen for Wild Earth. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we wish you all the very best going forward. So that's my little tribute to Taylor. And the last thing I'm going to say to you tonight, of course, is that I'm very sad old Scooby's died, but that was juxtaposed with the joy of those new hyenas. So off you go back for one last and hopefully not final forever segment from Taylor Jane McCurdy.
I hope that it's not my last segment or my last drive that I ever do with you guys. I'm probably going to get really sad, which will be super embarrassing, but whatever. It's not like I haven't embarrassed myself before. But it's been a pretty amazing journey, and I am really sad to say goodbye to all of you, but you know, there's so many things that I want to do. I'm so young still, like, I want to conquer the whole world. I don't want to be president, but, you know. But, and I'm really excited for my new adventures and all the things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to Zambia on Tuesday. So for those of you also know, it's my favorite place in Africa. I love it so much. So I'm really excited to get back to some serious remote wilderness and spend a bit of time there. I'll be spending a bit of time in Zambia this year and also next year. And there's quite a few things on the cards, but, you know, I'm always updating my social media. I'll be around, and who knows, maybe I'll get the opportunity to come back here and do a safari with all of you. But I have to, of course, thank the Wallingtons. Emily, Graham, thank you so much for taking a chance on me. Like, it's been pretty cool. Peter, everybody, Ian, you know, all the directors of the company, and then, of course, everybody of the Wild Earth family. Like, it honestly has been the best 2 years of my life in the guiding industry. I can't tell you how incredible this job is, and it's definitely the people that make it the most. I'm very sorry. I don't like to cry. But you guys have made it the best. So for any up-and-coming guides that want to do something like this, it's cool. It's really, really epic. I promise you right now, it won't be a bad decision. But I'm hoping that it's not goodbye forever. And then, of course, all of you, all of the viewers, all of the kids, you guys have made it for me. I didn't know people could love you from on the other side of the screen. So that's pretty epic. So thank you for when I've been at my lowest times of life. I go and I read comments, and I try not to read them all the time, but when I'm in my darkest place, I'll just go through, and the things that you guys say about all of us is just amazing. So thank you so much. And you know, yes, haters are gonna hate, but whatever, there's only a few of them, so that's alright. But the rest of you make up for all of it. So thank you so much for everything that you do. I know we don't always say it, but we talk about it often. And well, thank you for being a part of this crazy adventure of mine. And I hope, well, yeah, I hope to be back here soon, maybe one day in the future. Like I said, I don't want this to be goodbye forever. But anyways, I suppose it's goodbye for now. But I'll be around. And I hope that I've provided you with a lot of entertainment, and I've inspired you guys to do things and just made you laugh. That's literally my goal in life, is just to make people laugh and to make people smile. So hopefully I've achieved that, even if it means that I have to embarrass myself. That's fine. I'll do it over and over again for all of you. But anyways, I'm not going to say anything more because I didn't want to say goodbye. But apparently Eggsy and the rest of the team have put together a little something for me, which is pretty cool. So I hope you enjoy it.
Are you ready, Craig? We're rolling.
Shh! Quiet on set, please. My name is Taylor McCurdy.
This is SafariLive. Oh, my legs.
Woo! Win all round. I'm so excited.
All you have to do is not say any of the things that I'm trying to say right now.
Anyway, yeah.
And are you visiting me as a Sangoma?
Yes. I was not feeling well a moment ago. Can you help me?
It's Freaky Friday, Freaky Friday, Freaky Friday, Freaky Friday.
Such a wild girl. And it's quite weird. Oh my gosh, I can't do it anymore.
You know you brought you brought this upon yourself. I think you're very good at it. I don't think I need to do it at all.
I can't. How do I? That is hands down the coolest.
Pew, pew. That's my first take after like 10. Mara surfing. Okay, shall I come pull you out now?